turn this off.
Is it on?
No, they put it off for months. So it's a licensing issue, but we've done it for 10 years. I mean, I'm going to ask who it is, and I'm going to talk to him. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't be on the channel.
I don't know when you got 3.2%, so I can go for it. That's what I was sitting there thinking.
Let's put it this way, it's a local bank.
Local bank?
I mean, well, it's a, they have local branches here.
Because,
Yeah.
that's been, how many years fixed? 5-year adjustment? 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
misspoke, it's 3.25.
a great deal.
Yeah.
Nobody's offering that.
I just signed that last week.
I'm just saying, nobody's offering that. That's a fantastic deal.
I'll tell you the vote if you keep it just between.
Yeah.
But don't repeat it.
No,
But I just signed it last week.
well, that's good, because I'm working with new people on something when they call me on the second. Let's come out to a meeting, they're offering this over there. Come on, use that.
Don't use my name.
I won't use your name, but I, like, it was public.
I'm sure they'll know, right?
There's not a lot of $4.5 million loans.
And it's 10 years fixed.
That's really good.
So I don't have to worry. The project was 7.5. I got 4.5 on it.
I'm sure your mom has those.
She has some. She has a.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yes.
Yeah. Use me against other banks.
I was gonna say, we'll drive rates down single-handed.
And next time I go, they're going to slap me. So I can't give you any more. Told me I've got 18 months. Don't even have to pay.
Oh, really?
Because Mikey gets back, I'll go to the bathroom and I'll be in there with a whole bunch.
That's the graduate.
He is Vision 4 with his friends.
Well, good for him.
Apparently having a blast. They went to Soaky Mountain today.
So, that sounds fun. It's a good hot day to do that.
Yeah.
That may be right.
Pretty sure it's what I'm pretty sure.
Oh, he's getting signatures. That's what he's doing.
Who's your toughest competitions? Is that
Elijah had, he had 11 strikeouts. Matt had against 11. And then, we didn't, the toughest competition we had was Homelander. When they got mad at each other, Homelander was 20 or 2 teams, so I don't even think they're going to play it also.
really?
And they were the toughest competition. They beat us when
Teams. Clinch Root. What do you think? Clinch, Leatherneck, Hazel, Bluefield. Like all around.
Thank you for your patience, council.
And then it's crazy.
How does that? I've seen some pretty cool some more.
This meeting of council is now back in session. Thank you for your patience.
Now, can I ask my question?
You may.
Why can't we get this on the Richlands channel? You said it's a licensing issue?
No, it is fixed. It was fixed on 4/22.
So it will be back on the
Yeah,
channel?
it has been.
Oh, it's on now?
Yeah.
We're on YouTube.
Oh, I mean, you too, and the Richlands channel,
As far as I know.
Access.
Yeah.
access channel. Okay, good job.
Does it help, Doug?
It does.
Thank you. Okay, we are now at a point of the agenda. Once again, thank you, Rick, for explaining that. The wastewater project update discussion. Next, we have scheduled and unscheduled public hearings. I have a personal announcement to make. Brian Stillwell is unable to continue being our volunteer timekeeper. He's going to be relocating to Bristol, but commuting. And because of the distance and the time constraints prohibit him from continuing this duty. I want to say thank you, Brian, publicly for being such a good citizen and stepping forward from day one to be the timekeeper and doing it so diligently, carefully, and respectfully to the council, to the mayor, and to the citizens. It really makes a big difference. And Becca, I will draft a letter. Would you please transcribe that on letterhead and mail that to him? Our personal thanks on behalf of the council. I'll send it to you, okay? Thank you. Tonight, it's important that we have a timekeeper because when I first became the mayor, various people wanted to keep it. No one can really do it and pay attention, be it the attorney, the clerk, or anyone else. So I thought quickly, and I came up with Chris Hale. Chris, thank you for being with us tonight. If you don't know Chris, Chris is an esteemed teacher at Richlands High School. He teaches the classics, and we join together in the family of the humanities department, and I can speak to his qualifications. He is the advisor, captain for our championship team for Scholastic Bowl. And these young people came here and were we're so honored to have had them. And I know that Chris keeps time regularly in those very important and very strict events. So I called Chris this afternoon, and he said, Rod, I'll be glad to do it. Now, Chris, we understand this is a one-time deal, but if you take a liking to it, you're always welcome, and I say that most sincerely, Mr. Hale. So Mr. Hale will be keeping time tonight, and I've told him how we do it. Scheduled public comments are 5 minutes. I told him I had dismissed the big stop sign that we used to use because I don't think that's appropriate. And just give me a hand signal. And if someone goes over, I try not to be a bear about it and give a little nod at your time. The unscheduled public comments are 3 minutes. And I try to follow the same courteous procedure. And Chris knows at the 30-second mark, just give me a little hand signal that time is approaching. So with all due respect to the citizens who want to address the council, I will ask that you try your best to keep it within that time frame. And if you find that you need to go over considerably, maybe we can arrange for you to continue this at another meeting. But most people who speak are very cognizant of our procedures, and they're respectful, and it is a reflection of the people of this town, and I am so pleased to be there with you. Thank you. Is there a sign-up sheet for unscheduled public comments?
Yeah, we already passed it around.
Pass it. Okay. Well, we have it. So we're good with that. Thank you. Thank you. So first on our list, Roman numeral 7, scheduled public comments. Laura Malo wants to speak on dispatch. Ms. Malo, and I realized that you had made a suggestion that we don't ask people for addresses. It's not mandatory, but I'll just ask you if you don't mind. Thank you.
I think we all know it at this point. So, Laura Malo, 262 Linwood Drive. First, may we have an update regarding the charter changes that are coming into place on July 1st. We were unable to have a public hearing, so we could fast-track them through the General Assembly, but never heard anything else about the changes. Also, regarding the economic development position, you guys have already passed the budget with that built into it. I do not believe that's a necessary position at this point. My suggestion is, since it's already in the budget, let the county help us see what they can do for 4 to 6 months. And if at the end of those 6 months we decide we need more, then you guys can revisit hiring that position. After the last meeting, a conversation took place in this room, and during that time, our police chief, Jerry Gilbert, made the comment about 911 that it had went down over a weekend and the calls had to be paged out by Richlands. I FOIA'd the calls from the town of Richlands and the Tazewell County 911 Center and found the CAD sheets from Richlands that said things like Tazewell County Sheriff's Office had to page out due to their equipment not working. After comparing the calls and the communications from the original calls given to me by Jerry, the proof shows that 911 never went down. I don't think anyone is expecting any council member to have a magic wand to fix things or to have all of the answers, but we do expect you to operate with the correct information. The town of Cedar Bluff had to mention a council member by name at their last meeting and correct the wrong information given by him. This is embarrassing to this town and damaging to the decisions you're making. You can't make good decisions with the wrong information. I'm now going to read my FOIA response, an email from Sheriff Brian Hyatt regarding the matter. Mrs. Malo, after looking over the request you emailed me, along with the follow-up questions you gave me, I've gathered the following information. After speaking with my 911 director and our radio technician, along with looking at the call logs and recordings, it appears that we were contacted on January 26th of this year by Captain Whited, and he requested us to call down to the police department with any rescue calls that did not come across their pagers, which ended up being 8 calls during those 6 days, because the Richlands Rescue Squad was having problems with their pagers. Part of the problem may have been that during the week there was a lot of snow and ice, which affects the different agencies' tower sites throughout the county. Tim Honaker, our in-house radio technician, went to the rescue building along with a member of Richlands Rescue Squad and tweaked the system in their station, which ended up taking care of their problem. Please remember that the 911 Center does not own, purchase, repair, or maintain any pagers through the agencies throughout the county. They belong to the individual agencies. However, we have worked together with various agencies when they have a problem, and Tim has went and offered help when needed. As for your other questions, you asked if we lost power or had equipment failure during the last week of January. No, the 911 center was not down or out of power during the days of January 26th to the 31st. We have been fortunate that in the 11 years the 911 center has been in this building, we have not lost power, nor has the communications equipment been down. We do have a backup procedure where the 911 lines would be transferred to Russell County 911 Center if that were to ever happen, as only other 911 centers would be able to take over the calls coming in from 911 lines. Another question you've asked is if there were any paging problems with any other agency during those days. The answer is no. There were no other problems with any other emergency agency throughout the county during those days. There are times when another agency will have problems with their pagers or tower, as Richlands did, and when that happens, we do everything we can to work with the agency and assist them with their equipment. You also requested the call volume for those days. During the days of January 26th to the 31st, the 911 center received a total of 1,297 calls. Of those calls, 513 came in on the 911 lines. The others came in on non-emergency lines. Of the 1,297 total calls, 55 were for the Richlands area. Of those, it looks like 8 were given to the Richlands Police Department upon request due to their pager problems. The other ones that were paged out were heard across their pagers and received a response. I would also note that during those days, even when their pagers did not pick up those 8 calls, their radios worked fine, and we were able to dispatch and communicate with them through each call. Their CAD alert text messages were also not affected during the time showing each call we paged out. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Brian Hyatt, Sheriff.
Thank you, Ms. Mahalo. Okay, that concludes scheduled public comments. Next, Roman numeral 8, unscheduled public comments. There's a 3-minute maximum, and Chris will alert me when you're roughly 30 seconds close to your time. And first, we have Patricia Sparks. Ms. Sparks, would you mind to come to the podium and state your address for the benefit of the clerk?
Yes.
Thank you.
Patricia Sparks, 130 Dalton Street, Richlands, Virginia. That's one of my addresses. I also have another address in Florida. But good evening, Mayor Curry and distinguished members of the board, as well as the citizens of the great town of Richlands. My name is Patricia Sparks, and my husband is Fred Sparks. Fred was born and raised in Richlands, and his father was a coal miner here most of his life. In the 1980s, Fred's family, in the 1980s, when Fred was 17, his father, mother, and family moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. I was also raised in Bristol, Virginia, and when I was 13, my father, mother, and my 4 siblings moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. Fred and I met in Daytona Beach and married in 1999 and returned to Richlands in 2010 for the first time since we moved away. We fell in love with the people and the area all over again. And in 2012, we purchased a home here located at 130 Dalton Street, hoping that one day we would be able to spend at least half of our retirement here. Sadly, Fred passed in January. Most of Fred and my family members consider ourselves Virginians more than Floridians at heart. And to keep the dream of spending more time here, and we would like to keep the dream of spending more time here alive. I humbly come before you today to ask the board to grant me and my family an extra portion of land which contains our front yard, our driveway, our mailbox, our parking area, our picnic and play area, which we have been maintaining since our original purchase in 2012. We are interested in making plans to add to the property to accommodate more of our friends and family in the future. I have a survey of the property if you would like a copy. Thank you for hearing me tonight, and I sincerely hope to speak and meet with some of you about this matter in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sparks. I'm not able to address that fully, but have you presented your request to the town manager?
I actually called from when I was still in Daytona and asked them how would I start this, and they said for me to come to this meeting and present it
Okay,
here.
and that's a good start. I would suggest that you present your request to the town manager. There is a protocol, and that might also need to go before the planning commission, and they can come back with a recommendation. It isn't a lengthy process, but it's not a short process. So that's my suggestion. John, would you suggest that she present that to you? So this is John O'Daniel, the town manager. So Mrs. Sparks, if you could present the information that you have to John, he would
Okay.
take it, I would think, to the planning commission for study.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
And then if it is the will of the commission, it will come before the council.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I have another question. Does the name Wanda Sparks mean anything to you?
No, sorry. I know I've got plenty of other Sparks I could name, but Wanda, I don't remember.
That's all right. Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Dana Altizer Moats. Dana? Yeah, would you mind to come to the podium? And I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. You don't have to come if you don't want to. If you are you okay with that? Okay, I couldn't hear you back there, and I'm sorry. And if you don't mind to state
I'm
your
Dana
address.
Altizer Moats, and I live at 542 Terry Drive. Hey, everybody. I had asked to wait because you kind of don't like to air dirt on. We have some nice visitors from Hampshire, but when I watched Mike and Laura was speaking, I decided to go ahead. You know, one of the problems we have is y'all don't listen, especially Mike. People get up to talk and you're fiddling with your phone, you're sitting looking down. The first time I came to a meeting after Hidden Valley was annexed, y'all was playing with them cell phones like it was musical phones. That's rude. I've never been on any. I was a manager twice, and you darn well better not bring your phones to any meeting that I'm over. Certain person on the council would say something to everybody, not everybody else, but you know who you were, like that. But Mike, I hear some good ideas out of you, but that's very rude. You never listened 1 minute, and then you wonder why you get negative comments. Now, y'all gonna say negative about me when it's over, that's okay. Because the person I really care about's up there anyway, but it would go a whole lot better if you all listen to us. We listen to you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Moats. I want to add, we take it to heart, and
I don't mean you either.
oh, no. I'm
Say what?
speaking on behalf of the council that and it's no offense, Dana, I've known you for a long time. We're trying to have remarks made generally to everybody, but thank you. Okay. Morgan, would you come forth and state what you wish? Your name and address for the record.
Morgan Art, 1618 6th Street. One, I want to know if there's any updates relating to the constitutional matter I brought up last week. If there is, you can wait until the end or whenever you have your comment period. Two, so Point Broadband came in. Amazing. I'm gonna throw that out there. They're a tad expensive. All right, but I didn't know that I fall under the American ACP, and basically I got $30 off a month, and I would like the town to know about that. The people, if you guys want to get this internet. Spectrum's a part of it too. And so there's that. Third, I don't know, guys. What are we going to do here? I feel like we all just do the tango together. We dance around for everything until elections come around or until something happens. You should let the people lead this dance, and you should just follow. That's pretty much all I got to say. All right.
Thank you, Morgan. Next, Donnie Wade. Donnie?
My name is Donnie Wade. I live at 218 Philpott, and it's to speak to you. I'd like to ask that you might consider passing to allow ride four-wheelers on the streets, and if they do, buy a sticker. Cedar Bluff and Richlands both join forces. $50 for the sticker, and the money is split between the towns. And if they use them like that, be required to carry liability insurance, and they show proof of insurance when they get their sticker. That would be a way to generate revenue at the way things are now without possibly raising tax and stuff. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Donnie, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And Dana, I apologize. You were telling me something back there, and I didn't hear it, so my apologies to you. Thank all of you for speaking tonight. Input is great because we need it in a democracy. Okay, so we're moving on to, and I would suggest if you have something to report. I don't see attorney comments on here, but I'll add that for you.
We're going to address it under my miscellaneous.
Is that under miscellaneous? Okay, so that will be Morgan. Where are you? Okay, we can address that under John's miscellaneous comments. Thank you. Okay, we have altered Roman numeral 9, ID 8 update. Philip Horton, Chair. Philip?
Well, good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here, Mr. Mayor, council members, and town manager. I want to thank you for your confidence in me by appointing me to the IDA board, and I want to thank you for the job that you do. It's a thankless job in many, many ways. Just ask Justice Kavanaugh, but I thank you for your service. I certainly hope, pray, and plan to make a positive impact for the town. I've already hit the ground running and want to update you all. We've had 2 IDA meetings, and the first one was on May the 5th, 2022. That was a very busy day for me. My wife, Carolyn, was scheduled for heart catheterization, so we got up at 4:30 in the morning, be at the hospital at 6. We got home after 2 in the afternoon, and the IDA meeting was scheduled here for at 6 o'clock that evening. And I want to say this publicly. I want to acknowledge Peter Mulkey and the staff that he has assembled there at the hospital. We could not have been treated better or more professionally than we were there at Clinch Valley Medical Center. And the results were good as well. I introduced myself to the IDA board by presenting my vision for the future for the town of Richlands. I want Richlands to get back into the electric generating business. I want Richlands to become energy independent, not totally energy reliant on AEP or anyone else. Richlands had electricity when the surrounding area was still using kerosene lamps. And in 1945, when my family moved here from the adjoining Russell County, my oldest brothers, Don and Ralph, would sit and mesmerized for hours looking at the bulb, single bulb hanging from the ceiling in the house. They were so, used to living in darkness at night there. And but the town of Richlands started by the Clinch Valley Coal and Iron Company in 1890. They launched the Richlands Water, Electric, Light, Gas, and Power Company in 1891. And then the Panic of 1893, caused by Grover Cleveland's re-election and the stock market crash, they deserted the town. And then there were 5 entrepreneurial citizens bought the bankrupt company's assets and real estate here in Richlands. They were called the 5 Bills, if those of you it's been Richlands. But there were electric lights in Richlands by 1907. And Richlands started its municipal utility in 1922. You have the plaque out here in the hall honoring G.W. Bill Hagee, who lived from 1900 to 1995, and he was an electrical engineer. He was the superintendent of the electrical generating plant in Richlands from 1933 to 1946. And so, and he was Tom Hagee's father. And so we have a rich heritage here in Richlands. And I can remember as a boy one day coming down where McClure Concrete is, there was a large, well-constructed 2-story building that was empty. Beautiful, beautiful structure, concrete, glass windows and all of that. And I looked inside and was totally empty. Richlands went out of the electric generating business. And I want to go back to Radford. Radford built a hydroelectric plant in 1934. Initially, it made most of the electricity for the city of Radford. And but as Radford's population grew, their ability to generate electricity shrank to 5%. A 2014 flood damaged the generator, and Radford totally relied on electricity bought at wholesale rates from Appalachia Power. In 2017, Radford city officials decided to replace the 80-year-old generator and controls, and Radford had difficulty generating enough revenue because all of Radford University is tax exempt, and so they were having difficulty maintaining services. Now, Radford's electric department generates significant revenue for the city. Radford's mayor made this statement: "I think long-term Radford's independent city viability has been and will be linked to the ability to provide and generate electric power for the city of Radford." I certainly believe Richlands' future viability rests upon Richlands' ability to produce electricity for our residents and businesses. We currently have no capacity at all to produce electricity. We have a large generator beside the water treatment facility. It was built to at least keep the water plant operating during an emergency. But the EPA has determined that it's non-compliant because of carbon emissions. And it's cost prohibitive to make the necessary upgrades, and so we are stuck. We have no ability to generate any electricity. But let me say this, back up. I left the IDA meeting at 7:30 p.m. that Tuesday evening. I went to bed, went straight home, went straight to bed, 8 o'clock. And our Christian school kids were on their Virginia history trip, and we were scheduled to tour the state capitol on Wednesday, and Senator Hackworth had made a deal for our kids to come into the Senate chambers and do an interactive thing, and they actually sworn them in as temporary senators, and they argued bills and all of that. It was a very, very great thing that they had for them. And plus, Senator Hackworth had invited me to be with him and Angel at the private bill ceremony with the governor there in the Patrick Henry building. So I was exhausted, my wife was sick, and I asked the Lord to help me as I laid down that night. I woke refreshed at 1:17 a.m. I showered, I dressed, and I was in the Capitol building, parked and in the building before 8 o'clock a.m. So Travis and Angel picked me up, and Travis told me, he said, I'm going to ask the governor if he will allow you to pray with him when we get through signing the bills. And so the pictures were made and the bills were signed and all that. The three of us were standing there together. And Travis said, do you mind if Pastor Horton prays for you? And he immediately stuck out his hand and he said, absolutely. And so we joined hands in prayer. And when I finished praying, he said, now, will you let me pray? And so he prayed with us and prayed for us. And when he finished, I said, Governor, I said, I have just been appointed as the IDA, on the IDA board for the town of Richlands. We had our meeting last night, and they asked me to be the chairman. And I said, I was, really reluctant because of my not time on the board, but I said, we desperately need help for Richlands. Our utility rates, we're having problems meeting budgets and all that. And so I said, could we? There is a large natural gas pipeline just north of Richlands. Could we tap into that and build a natural gas electric generating facility there on that site? There's probably 600 or 700 acres of reclaimed strip mine land that is south facing. Could we not put in a huge solar array there? And as quick as I said that, he grabbed Senator Hackworth by the arm and he said, Senator, I think that's a great idea. And then I told him some other needs that we had there. But since then, we've had a 3-hour meeting with Senator Hackworth and Delegate Moorfield. And they're working on initiatives that will tremendously help us. And I can't discuss that now. But we currently own small portions in some generating facilities, and we're very limited to our maneuverability right now. We contract to buy electricity at projected electrical needs, and Richlands contracts and buys power at wholesale rates for our projected normal usage. The pricing system, is designed to discourage buying electricity at high demand times. And so we almost always are able to live within those parameters except for unforeseen weather events. And for those short periods of time, electricity must be bought at an open, wild bidding market. And Richlands paid over $700,000 extra money in 2 days, the last polar vortex that we had. Y'all know that, right? And so we lost over $700,000 that's got to be passed on to we, the consumers. And all of us have to do that. And so we desperately need peak generating capacity to avoid those times. And the cost of capital investment and the operations to generate our own power at peak demand is doable. Okay? We can and must get back in the electric generating business. Richlands is a beautiful place with great climate and lots of potential. And together we can do this. We have the governor's ear. Delegate Moorfield absolutely will help us. Senator Hackworth has millions invested here, and he surely will help us. So we had at our meeting, our past meeting, June meeting, we had Tal McBride McBride Electrical Service to present to our IDA board his ideas and plans. He has a bachelor's degree in pre-med from the University of Virginia, and he has a master's degree from the University of North Carolina. But his knowledge and experience and expertise and resources, he has those to immediately help us. And he said that solar panels are the fastest and easiest generating system to get them approved and installed. And so what I'm asking you to do tonight is the council to expedite the ordinance for residential and commercial solar panel electrical production. If you will get this done, we can have a backup system before the next polar vortex. And I'm not new at wanting solar. I wanted that for my house. Dr. Hudson, the retired vice president of finance from the college, he invited our children to come up, and we went. I'd seen articles about Clinch River Farms, but I'd never been. And it's amazing. You ought to take the time and go up there and see what he has done. And the facility that he's created there, he captures all of his rainwater and sends it down to the river and flushes the commodes and the campers and the restrooms and all of that. He uses rainwater to run his clothes washer and flush all of his commodes in his home, a 3-story home. And he has the solar panels. He was the pioneer in that. And so we were looking at, with Brother Travis, and when doing the addition on his house, we were going to put in solar panels, and I got the letter there January the 1st of 2021. He said, we can't do this because Richlands does not have an ordinance to allow you to put in solar panels. You can in the county, but you can't in Richlands. And so I will ask you, I believe grant funding will be available to us, and we can become prosperous again. And just like the Radford mayor said, I think long-term Radford's city's viability has been and will always be linked to the ability to provide and generate electrical power for our citizens. And I hope that you will please move as expeditiously as possible to get the solar thing done for residential and commercial both. Thank you very, very much.
Philip, thank you very much. That's very impassioned and something that we probably, definitely should consider. As you well know, you and I share a love of history, not because we're living in the past, but because it points to the present. And I just happen to have this with me tonight. That's a newspaper with the original prospectus in it. I'd like it back, but just the cover. You may look at this while you sit in the audience, and we must rely on future things too. You may look at that. That was published years ago, 1890.
What does council need to do?
At this point, we've pretty much done everything we can. I've reached out to GDS as soon as I received confirmation from legal that there was no procurement issues with moving forward with them to do the study and draft the ordinance. We're looking at first of next month to have the ordinance done. I'm sure there'll be some back and forth with council before a final version is ready to start doing the public hearings and go through that ordinance passing process. Then the other part is a little more complicated. Electric generation. We'll have to look at some of our contracts and have further discussions on if that's something council wants to pursue.
I think that's reasonable to pursue it, to proceed the discussion, absolutely. Members of council? All right, so John, will you facilitate that process and keep us up to date? Are you okay with that? Philip, thank you.
everything available. If there are all kinds of miniature micro water turbines that you can install, and I saw a video online. There was a little Oriental man. He had a box about 12 inches square, about 5 or 6 feet long, and there was just a small branch of water, and he set that thing down in it, and the turbine in it generated enough power to power a small building because it's operating 24 hours a day. And so there are so many options that are available to us. But the solar panels, I'm not just totally pushing solar, but the solar panels are the fastest and the easiest thing to get approved. And so, Mr. McBride says that if we can get the ordinance passed, that he has got the solar panels in a warehouse in Abingdon. He lives in Bristol, and he
I
could
lost you.
get
Mr.
started.
McBride is Mr. McBride, Philip.
Tal McBride.
Tal McBride from McBride Electrical. I need to schedule a meeting and let you sit down with him. He is a very, very knowledgeable man, and extremely. So he has he's built several of these facilities all over, and but what we were interested in doing, I need to back up and tell you the full story. I first met with him for him to install solar panels on our church facilities. We've got about 40,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet under roof. And so he was offered to come in and put solar panels on all of our buildings. We put new roofs on all of our buildings last year. And for $300,000, he would do all the work, install everything up front, and then we would agree, it's like sign like a 10-year agreement with him to buy the solar back from him at 5.6 cents per kilowatt. He said, I don't think I can get you to net zero, but, and I said, well, we've got 3 acres over here beside the church. And he said, I can easily get you to net zero with that. And so we would like, because we sat down with the men of the church, and Dr. Hudson had put our finance on a spreadsheet, and we had paid the town of Richlands in the last 50 months over $100,000 for our electricity, not counting all the taxes and not counting water, sewer, and garbage. We had paid over $100,000. I said, men, right here's a problem. We cannot get any money. We're spending it on utilities. And we've got to change it some way, somehow. And so, but, the deal is you have to pass an ordinance that will allow us to proceed even with that. And I would sure appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. Philip, I'd like to get with you on that separately. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think we've got to watch that Blue Ridge doesn't hinder our efforts, because we'll be in sort of direct competition. They will try to hold us back if we produce our own electricity. So you can't, you've got to know that they're not going to be for this movement. Do you understand, Philip? I mean, the more power that we produce, the less we're going to have to buy an open market through Blue Ridge. So I think that's one problem when John goes to talk to Blue Ridge and their recommendations, they will kind of be biased.
I don't think it'll have an impact. What they're doing is mainly for residential commercial, has nothing to do with us generating our own. Some of the other organizations that are in part of it, they do their own generation. They still are active members.
Maybe we can see, Doug, I follow what you're saying. Maybe we can see what happens.
And
Okay.
I will add, though, that we will have to look at zoning. You're not going to want somebody just throwing up 40 solar panels in their front yard. It's considered a structure, but we'll have to look at, how we're going to allow them, where we're going to allow them, setbacks, or you're only going to allow them on the roof, things of that nature as well, before people start throwing them up and we have nothing that says you can or you can't put them and where you can put them. That'll be something we'll also have to look into.
John, I'd encourage you to reach out and go ahead proactively, talk to City of Bluefield or Town of Bluefield, and
town of Tazewell,
I
to find
reached
out what they
Yeah, I
have.
reached out to Tazewell. I think they were working on it. I don't think they had it in place yet, but, you know,
Maybe Abingdon, whoever,
Yeah.
somebody who has these ordinances in place already. But I will also say, given the unique situation that we're in Richlands with excessive power, we need to err on the side of the citizens and the residents. So if we need to be more aggressive and open up, I don't care if people put them on their roof, cover your whole roof with them. That doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me. I think we need to, you can zone anything to death. And so I caution you now, don't do that. Let's be very open to what we allow, because we're in a unique situation. We are losing businesses. We are losing people. And I'm, you guys know this, but I'm in the real estate business, and this is literally a conversation I have once a day with people. They debate on buying a home in the town of Richlands because of the cost of their utility bill. Whether that's perceived, whether it's real, whatever, that's the narrative. And that is a real discussion that they have with their realtors. People move out of here into other parts of the county. So it is a real issue, so definitely let's be very open-minded about that.
Thank you, Seth. Okay, Philip, thank you for your report. We're moving on to Roman numeral 10, County Economic Development Incentive Discussion. Tim Danielson. Tim?
My name is Tim Danielson. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak before you. Some of you might be aware, but we had been working with a business that's been expanding here in Richlands. They are expanding Appalachian millwork and cabinetry, and they acquired the old Magic Mart property. The IDA, the Tazewell County IDA, approved a grant following the guidelines that the IDA approved roughly 8 months ago to provide them with a grant based upon their job creation. It's $2,000 per job, up to a maximum of $30,000. And it's paid typically in arrears, so you have to perform before you receive your grant proceeds. What I would like to recommend is if Richlands would consider contributing something to this effort of this business expanding here in the town of Richlands. An idea that I have in my mind that I've shared with John is perhaps a property tax rebate on any increase in value. That encourages the business to actually invest additional money in the property. It doesn't cost the town a single dollar. I intend on presenting something like that at the next Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'll be using a five-year formula based upon a declining scale, 100%, 80, 60, 40, 20. But again, it's only on the increase in the assessed value. So whatever you're collecting now, you're going to continue to collect. And it's just, it's just something you might want to consider for businesses as they're growing and expanding in Richlands, and it shows good faith. So.
Tim, were you saying, I heard Appalachian Works, and did you say rebates? What was the word you used?
Well, the idea is a rebate of property taxes. So typically a business would pay their property taxes normally, and then you would do the mathematics and you would send them a rebate check following the guidelines that you establish. So it's typically, it's one method.
Okay.
But I'm going to share with John the incentive guidelines that our IDA had established. You guys could consider adopting something similar to that, maybe at a lower level.
Yeah, I asked Tim to come kind of let you know kind of what they were looking at. I think if he can submit to me what he's looking at presenting to the county, if this is something council would like to look at, we can take it to the IDA and maybe flush out the details of it and bring it back for something that we can have in place. It's something we've talked about on and off, but never really put something in place that would allow us to do some incentives for economic development. But I kind of wanted to get, feel of, council before you spend a lot of time working on this.
I think it's certainly a possibility. Tim, are these rebates applicable to other eligible businesses?
I mean, sure, they could, I believe on the property tax side, I think you need to, take that on a case-by-case basis. I mean, certainly I would. On our incentive guidelines, we have, it's divided into two categories. It's divided into retail businesses and manufacturing, basically your prime job creators, your manufacturing, your office, your distribution. So the IDA has the discretion to offer for retail up to $1,500 per job. And then on the manufacturing side, up to $3,000 per job. So but it gives them a complete broad spectrum of it's their discretion, but it's a set of guidelines that is, as long as you establish those guidelines and you follow those guidelines, you're not treating anybody any differently than you would any other business. I'm a believer that you need to perform. We in government, we're fiduciaries of the taxpayers' dollars. So you want to make sure that you as a business, you perform before you receive something on the back end. We're not a venture capitalist, okay? So, I try to structure everything so that I want to see the business perform. They have to enter into a development agreement. They're going to, so what they agree to create jobs, their capital investment. If they don't hit their numbers, they may have to pay some of that money back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So there is a feeling of equitable treatment.
correct.
That's where I'm headed.
It's absolutely, it's 100% equitable. It's, it's a set of guidelines, and as long as the business is performing, then everybody wins. The government, the citizens win, and anyway.
Is that a one-shot deal, 30,000?
Pardon?
Is the 30,000 a one-shot deal?
I mean, I'm of the opinion if a business is growing in my community, I mean, I look at a 5-year time horizon. I present a package to our leadership on a 5-year time horizon. If a business after 5 years is still growing, I want to encourage them to remain in my community, and they're welcome to come back and give me another measure of performance that they're willing to commit to.
So the 30,000 is over a 5-year period?
It's over a 5-year period, that's correct, yes.
Understand.
Yes.
Another area, Mr. Mayor, look at this, if we do these downtown revitalization grants, the more money you spend on your building, your top property tax goes up. It's a good opportunity to do, that same type of incentive. In town of Abingdon, if you're in the historic district, there's a dollar for dollar. So if you spend $10,000, I think it's up to $10,000, you get rebated on your town taxes. So you can get dollar for dollar for what you spend. You get that off in town taxes.
Community too. We're not.
Right, but it doesn't matter. We have the opportunity to do whatever we want. We can establish whatever rules, and I think that's what Tim's saying. But only thing I ask is that we just, and I understand where you're coming from, just do it fairly. We're not doing this just for one person. This is open to anyone who wants to create jobs or
And
grow.
I'm fine with the program. I mean, in general, what you're saying, Tim, I just know that sitting up here, we often hear, well, you did it for this one, but you're not doing it for that one. So we must be fair. And that was the drive of my question. And I thank you. You answered it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, council, for your time. And,
Tim, I'd ask you have you and Philip met each other?
No, I
Philip
don't believe,
Mrs.
not just this evening, but.
I'd like for y'all to meet each
Okay.
other and exchange information, and y'all could be a lot of help to each other.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, Darrell, take care.
Tim, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I guess, is there anybody on council opposed for us, kind of moving forward and looking at this further, or is everybody fine with that? I'll work with IDA and Tim, and we'll try to find.
Yeah, I think we
it's
let
worth
Philip and them
investigating.
start it, but if you can get people to start spending money on their property, I mean, if
We're doing it now,
you're gonna
we're
get,
getting nothing.
you're gonna get your tax
So-
base that you're getting now. And if they spend money on it, well then, that's the part you're gonna rebate.
Yeah.
So,
You're not gonna lose money.
There's no
you know,
loss.
Yeah, so it's, and eventually you get that money. Yeah, so it's a good program.
All right, we'll move forward and keep working on that, and I'll keep
So
you all
you'll
updated.
move forward
Yeah.
with
Yeah, work with,
looking into that.
Yeah, well.
Thank you. Tim? It seems, Tim? Mr. Danielson? It's okay. I just had to get your attention. It was one of my ways of doing it. It seems like there's an interest in what you're saying. So the town manager has indicated he would like to move in some direction of research. So obviously you're already in connected with John. So I would suggest that you facilitate these issues or these ideas so that we can have more concrete things come before the council.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay. Moving right along. Is council ready to move forward? Okay. Agenda items. We're on Roman numeral 11. ATV Ordinance Discussion, Shanna Plaster and Rick Wood. We would like to welcome Shanna and Rick to discuss the ATV Ordinance Discussion. Enlighten us, please. Thank you, Shanna. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you all so much for having us. Is this on? I just want to say that I really think this is something that we really need to do. We really need to get 4x4 or side-by-side access into the town of Richlands. I'm originally from a small place in southern West Virginia, and in fact, they just had a McDonald's. That's all they had. And then when the coal industry crashed, they lost that. I went over about 2 years ago, and they looked completely different. They had hotels, they had a brewery, they had a coffee shop, and we already offer a lot of those businesses, and I think we need to get them into town to be able to access. We need that revenue from those businesses. I mean, what am I trying to say? To get their business into our town to produce that revenue. So we met a couple, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, you can just
Okay.
tell me what
We met a couple of months ago. We had our representative from VDOT. We had our director of tourism for Tazewell County. I had 2 members of the town council. And the representative from VDOT, I think one of our issues was what part were we going to allow open to ATV access. The VDOT representative really, he really stressed that we needed to not connect Cedar Bluff and Richlands in order to get approved from VDOT. We originally talked about from Bad Axe to go around the circle of Front Street and Second Street, stop at Bad Axery, and go all the way to McDonald's, and then a little section over to Food Line and
to the ATV shop.
Yeah, to the ATV shop there. He said for us to get approved, he feels like that's the way that we need to go. Cedar Bluff will be able to hit the other part of Richlands that we're kind of concerned with, but
Daryl's had a question. He called me.
Yes.
I used to say,
Of course. You may,
Daryl,
Rick.
if you come down here, I'll show you what we're talking
yes.
about to help. Because you called and asked me, and I couldn't tell you over the phone. So, this is Jewel Ridge County. This is here. That's where we're coming out. Down here is Richlands. We're coming, this is Spencer Ridge. That's straight into Cedar Bluff. You turn here, this comes down into Richlands. So that's what I was trying to explain.
Right. Yeah, I kind of understood that when you explained it to me, yeah.
That's the reason I brought the map, so
Yeah.
but if anybody else has got a question.
No,
So
thank
it's
you.
gonna go straight in
Yeah.
to take care of what you was
Right,
concerned about.
exactly, yeah.
And Ridgelands will be taking care
Yeah.
and concern
Yeah.
of everybody
I'm
else.
fine with, yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, VDOT usually recommends a 5 mile, 5 miles to be on the main road.
So
I mean,
that
they'll,
means we need a trailhead in Richlands.
Yes.
We need a trailhead in Cedar Bluff, and we need one at Jewel Ridge. So we're actually connecting 3 towns together, or 3 communities together.
Mhm.
Because Jewel Ridge is not a town, but we're connecting it all together. It would be nice if we could come up the 4-lane, but that's impossible. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to come the route we come. But I really don't wanna connect from the,
Bad Axery.
well,
area.
the red light there at the rec park
Yeah.
up to the top of the hill. The reason I don't, I need people back on the trails. Y'all don't need them running back and forth through your town all the time, because it's gonna get out of hand. So if we could do that, and we do the Ridgelands, and I haven't seen y'all's map, but
This
I'd be
map.
glad to mark it for anybody, what we
Yes.
really need to do. That would help us control the travel back and forth. I'd rather for them to take the trail and go back around to Cedar Bluff, or come back around into Ridgelands on trail instead of just running up and down the road. And I think it's gonna become a big problem if we do that.
Rick, would you say that again? I was listening, but instead of running up and down the road. say-
Okay, if we do not do the road between the red lights into the Dalton addition up to the, let's say, Pizza Hut. If we do not do that section, that puts people back on my trails, and that's what I want. If you open that up, you're gonna have people running from Cedar Bluff to Richlands, Cedar Bluff to Richlands, all the time. They're not gonna ride the trails, they're just coming to ride the roads. And it's a lot of people, that's all they wanna do is ride the roads. So this will make them hit my trails and come back to, it kinda gives us control, so it don't get out of hand. That's what I'm saying.
Makes good sense.
Well, I haven't had a time to look at this or the ordinance, but Shanna and Rick, what are your proposals for tonight?
The proposal tonight that we need an ordinance, so VDOT will carry on, we can get everything. Shanna's gonna do most of the work, her and the county. I haven't looked at y'all's map to see what John had give us.
This
But-
map?
Yes, I haven't seen that.
There's extras right there.
But I would be glad to,
Maybe you should see it.
yeah.
Let me look at it too.
Oh, that looks great.
The yellow part is the part that I'm suggesting that we don't do.
So you want us to do you want us to approve option A tonight?
I would love for you to prove option A tonight, and it's just, it's on the thing now, thank you, John. So it would be, just beneficial to all the people in town, to the businesses, to put four-wheelers and business together makes a perfect solution to everything, I think.
So Rick, I'm just looking here, and coming off Jewel Ridge or West Fork, whatever you want to call it, comes into town. And it's hard to see, on our one-lane, one-way highways, they would turn right onto Second Street. Is that correct?
Yep.
And go down to McDonald's and turn around and come back on Front Street and go down to the corner where the Bad Axery is and turn up Second Street. And they could continue on that loop, or they could go wherever they want to, or they could exit by going back up toward Jewel Ridge. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And we will have a trailhead in Richlands, so people parks. So that will be up across from West Fork,
Okay.
right at the Richlands town limits.
Will they be able to go over to Food Line?
Yes, they would be able to go to, I don't want them to go too far, but we're letting
Well,
them,
if that's.
it's not marked here on this map.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
left that out, which would be this section right here. We will need to just go to the first street,
Yeah.
so they can go to the ATV.
big lots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just stop at
stop.
big
Yeah.
lots, that would be great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have to have signs, of course, marking where they could be.
And y'all will have to pay for the signs and put them up.
The town would.
The town will, the county pays for
What kind of
those.
signs are they, Rick? I mean, I don't know.
There just says no ATV beyond this point, and it
Okay.
says, be friends with, share the road with ATVs, and, I can get you all that information.
Well, first I want you to know, I'm not against this, but because I don't know much about it. As I explained to Shanna, it doesn't have to be my thing to support it,
Right.
okay? But I do have questions, and those are, when these come into town, and I'm repeating exactly what I told Shanna, so I just speak publicly. When these come in, I don't know a thing about them. I just ride an ordinary car, and I'm grateful. Do they have big tires?
Some has big tires, some has little tires. Most of the machines come today, they come with like they call a road tire.
Okay,
So they run on the road, that's what they're designed to do.
yeah.
West Virginia.
Do they
has-
alter those sometimes to run on the
They can,
trails?
yes.
Okay. And then the other, it's not a negative, I'm just asking for whatever. Please, thank you, Rick. And then the other thing, when they come in, do they have a lot of mud on those big tires? Because we constantly hear about our streets being dirty. So is there any help from
They-
Spearhead to clean our streets?
No, they're not, because you will never have mud from our trails in your town.
Okay.
By the time they
Unless it
ride from
comes off.
Jewel Ridge
I mean, I
to
don't
here, it's
know.
all gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, so we'll leave it on the highway somewhere.
Well.
It'll be on my
probably-
side.
It will probably never make it to the highway.
Well, it's okay, I just wanted to know. And then the other thing, how about the noise level of these vehicles?
They do have noise, some are louder and some are quieter. I mean, and we are gonna have noise from it.
Okay.
But
It's not a negative, I just wanted
it's
to know.
two things that we're looking at. We're looking at a tax revenue versus noise. We're
Right.
kindly in a decline in this town. We need all the money we can get spent here, so that's why
Yeah.
we're asking you to do this.
Well, I appreciate your answering the questions I have. Those are the very questions I asked Shannon. She can raise her hand that those are the ones, because I don't want to ask her anything I wouldn't ask you, Rick.
St.
And
Paul.
it's about quality of life for the people who are coming here and quality of life for people who live here. And we do hope that that will spur the economy through gas purchases, food purchases, items. I don't know, we don't know, it's unpredictable, but hopefully it would have a positive impact on the town. As Shanna said, she's hoping for the best. So I appreciate your answering me on those things. Those were my concerns.
Well, the positive impact of this, John probably needs to call St. Paul and talk to them. They have about 20,000 riders in there a year.
Mm-hmm.
And their businesses has really grown from this.
Mhm.
I mean, if I went there and told them we're not gonna let them, ride on the road, I mean, they'd probably chop my head off.
Well, we don't want that. We like you too much.
Because it's a very big impact on our business. It's not so much of an impact on the citizens. It is a little aggravation to them sometimes, but, events and stuff that we have, this could be put in with that. And y'all could actually have events to generate more money from the ATV groups.
Right.
Because you can get 10,000 ATV. We had 17,000 showed up to Cold Canyon last year to ATV rally.
That's wild.
So
Is there a season for this?
it's according to who the person is.
I mean, I don't know. I'm asking because I don't know.
Every ATV rider has a different season.
Okay.
Mine would be fall, but some people spring and summer, then fall.
Okay.
But some people like the wintertime. Well, we don't have very good snow. We don't have a lot of snow, so people will go here more in the wintertime than they would farther north, so.
I appreciate your help for me, Rick. I'm one of those people, I don't know a lot about it. So when you don't know, you just have to ask. And I appreciate it because I know you're on Spearhead board.
Yes, I'm the
Are you the
chairman.
chairman
Yes.
of the board? And Brad Ratliff, who's the attorney, who was our attorney, is very much for it, I'm sure. Because I talked to Cedar Bluff and they are doing this. Okay, and what about the after dark piece? Is there something about after
Well,
dark?
Okay, Roger, two things. If they don't have a Spearhead pass, they can't ride on the roads, period.
Okay. That comes from Spearhead
And
Trails.
they have to follow our laws.
Uh-huh.
And we have dark time set and time they can start. So they're not gonna be out of control with that because we can ticket them or y'all's officers can ticket it over that. So it's not, these
Wait.
people's not like you're thinking. It's,
No, I don't know what I'm thinking.
I know, I know.
To be clear.
It's hard to imagine, but you're talking, you know, they're bringing in a $60,000 truck, $20,000 trailer, and most of them's got $20,000 and $30,000 in their ATVs. So
Right.
you're not getting the people that's on the outlaw trails that raising cane and doing that.
Daggone it.
Well, you know, and when we started Spearhead Trails years ago, I was on the board of supervisors, it was the first meeting. And the estimate then, and I'm sure it's more now, was $180 per rider per day is what they spend in the trail system. And I'm sure it's more than
St.
that.
Paul has 200, their average right now is $237.
Right.
Well, I don't want you to think I'm quizzing you. I want you to know I'm asking because I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like to quiz people because I don't like to be quizzed either.
Well, I feel
But
like
I
that.
appreciate what you're saying to me, that it could add to the economy and add to the quality of life for the town because of the revenue that it could create.
One thing I'd like to ask y'all to do is go down here at Brad and rent you a ATV and take you a ride.
Mhm.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, you say I've never done it, and I don't
I
know, this
haven't.
ain't mine, but it may be, Rod.
I mean, I haven't, so, I'll always tell you what I haven't done, and I've done a lot, but I'm not going to tell you everything.
We design trails.
That's
Rod.
private.
When we design trails, we design trails for everybody. I want the people that really wants to get muddy. I want the people that
Go ahead.
that the mom and pops that really just want to go ride on Sunday afternoon and not get dirty. You got it all on this trail down here. You got
What
it.
about safety for our people, for the riders? I'm looking at a man, I won't call him out, who, his son recently had a terrible accident, and he's okay, thank God. What kind of safety measures are implemented in this sport?
It's really a safe sport. It's what you make of it.
Yes.
You have people that does crazy things, but you have people that does crazy things in a car too.
Of course.
So it's not,
Yes.
it's not dangerous like you think. That's why I've invited you to go out and ride and you would really enjoy it.
Well, will you take me?
Yes, I'll take you.
I don't want to do it, but if you'll drive it, I'll go. I appreciate your questions, you're answering my questions, Rick, because I remember when you were on the council before, and this was a topic, but we didn't move, but we're closer, and I see it as a positive. And I did want to ask about the nighttime riding. Is it just after dark? Is there,
It's actually like.
Is it in this ordinance? Because I haven't read it.
Yeah, it should be.
What
It's
is it?
whatever you all make it.
It's like an hour before dark, so
Okay.
I don't want people driving with headlights on.
Yes.
Okay.
It's what we really don't want.
And my last question is, how fast do they go?
It can go from 15 mile an hour to 100 mile an hour. It's just,
Okay, I don't know.
It's whatever the writer wants to do.
Well, I hear different things, so
It's
when
all-
I'm ignorant and I just claim it, not proudly, but honestly, I need to know.
Most of our trails are 15 mile an hour. When we finally got CNX to do theirs, they asked us to raise it up to 25 mile an hour.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Shannon.
And in town, they have to obey all
All
the same
the-
speed
Yes.
limits and all that.
So it'll be up to our officers to enforce the law. Is that right? Okay. I'm just trying to think about the added responsibilities that we would be assuming.
Does everybody have to have a trail permit to ride or not?
You
Yeah,
have
that-
to have a trail permit to ride on the road.
Okay.
And that was done in legislation.
Displayed visibly so that
Yes.
Jerry and his officers can see that
I
easily.
really appreciate the information because I was going to hold back. I thought, no, just ask what you need to know. It's the best way.
What,
But I would like to ask the council not to vote on this, and let's help our business.
Well, I think we would have to read this ordinance aloud.
We can't vote yet.
I don't, we've got a draft version of the ordinance, and Mayor, I think a lot of your questions are answered by this ordinance here. It comes straight out of the state code of 46.2, 800.2, so
This one that we just got but haven't read.
So,
that is correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I'm just pointing out, we just got it and I haven't read it. And if I'm not blindsided, I do better.
It was emailed to us this week.
Do you understand, Rick?
I do.
Brad emailed it.
Shannon, you matter to me and my people matter. our citizens.
Really tonight was just to kind of start the discussion. I wanted you all to review this and give you a few days to a week. Because we'll have to add the actual street names that we're going to allow it into the ordinance, so it's very clear which, streets it's allowed. And then we'd have the public hearing at our next meeting, the first reading, and then you move forward with the passing of
Okay,
the
so
ordinance.
John, your suggestion is you want us to study it?
I wanted to give you all some time to, look at it, digest it, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can bring them, to me, or I'll
To
pass
the whole
them on to
council,
Brad.
or to these people who might be able to inform us of what's going on.
Yep.
And so your suggestion, I'm asking, to be very clear, your suggestion is you want us to review this, and at our next meeting, we can vote on it, or have a reading.
You do the first reading, and then it'll depend on how,
And if we want to, we can dispense with the second
I think so.
reading. Is that right, Mr. Attorney?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm getting it right. Shannon, you're on the Board of Supervisors. Do you follow rules?
Yes,
Thank you.
completely.
do you have a time
I'm
period?
making sure.
Do you have a time period that we need to have this done? Maybe have special meetings or?
Well, I'm still working on the county part. We haven't passed our ordinance yet. So the sooner the better, but we're working towards getting, our next board meeting is the 28th of this month, so we're working toward, but we have to advertise for 2 weeks before we pass our ordinance. So, we're coming up on that quickly, so I would like to move by the end of this month, if not the next
On
month.
this ordinance.
Yes.
Could we have
So that you
special,
can
'Cause
go
we
to
don't
the
meet
county
again
and say,
till
"We
Oc-
passed an ordinance."
could we have a special meeting after,
Well, we could. That's
so
why
we
I
can
was trying-
expedite this?
Yeah, I was just trying to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, I'm following.
I mean,
And I
you're
had
wasting
down.
summer, you're
Yes.
wasting money. So-
Well, I want to share with you about the word wasting. When we talk about wasting, we're really not wasting. We're being very careful. Thank you, Rick.
I think with the advertising requirements, it wouldn't make a difference having a special called meeting any sooner than our normal meeting in July.
Well, we could do that. And I don't mean to be harsh, but no
Well-
money is wasted when it comes to human life and quality of life. My opinion.
But we have to advertise.
We can't advertise, it's 14 days from today, so you won't meet the requirement.
No.
But what we can do is, we could be prepared to vote on it in July, and we can pass it as an emergency ordinance. This is not a budgetary item,
I was
it's
thinking, would
nothing.
our regular July meeting be sufficient?
I would think.
That's probably the
so.
fastest that we can do it,
Yes,
and if we
yeah.
pass it as an
Because
emergency.
we're not sure whether we're gonna be able to pass ours
Yeah.
at our last meeting, so it may be August before we're able to pass ours, but.
And if we pass it as emergency, it's not something that, it's not a budget thing, it's nothing that,
Yes.
so we can pass it as emergency, or that way it takes effect immediately, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, I just don't want to be waiting on Ridgelands when I open it up to Cedar Bluff. I want it to kind of, if we keep getting.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
To coincide.
It would help me. It would
And,
help
and
me.
we're all in, I think we're all in
Maybe we
agreement.
can make that a
I'm
big
speaking for
deal
everybody else, but
for
it's
all
option A, Daryl's
Yeah.
good, you got a
Rick.
consensus of what we're doing.
Shanna, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for answering all of my questions. Mundane that they are, they were my questions, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Shanna.
Well, there's nothing in here about night rides.
This would be a very pragmatic, practical, plug-and-play way to bring some recreation.
Are we never going to do that?
Seal out of Richlands, recreation is.
Rocky, I'm sorry, what are you saying?
I was saying to their
Did you
point-
want to speak?
Yes, please. To their-
Would you like to come up here and have a minute?
Not necessarily, but I will. Okay.
Rocky, would you like to state your name and address? I'm making an exception,
My name's Rocky Mallow,
and I'm going to get in deep trouble. You better be ready to defend me.
262 Linwood Drive. So to their point, Rick and I have been talking about this for years. He's got a very good idea of how to make this work. It is a very practical plug-and-play way to bring some recreation to Richlands that we've already got a foundation for with the trails. I hear a lot of feedback from the town where we are at the center of town where I work. I hear a lot of feedback from the town. It would be a very beneficial way to create a draw for the town. And that, the most successful towns I've lived in and seen, they have draw items. They have draw things that create a draw.
Yes.
And so I think this would be a great way, a very big way, that's already practical, that's very plug and play for our town to bring this as an outlet for us. And in regard to the noise, which I think is people's biggest question, it's not any louder than some Harleys driving up the street.
Than a truck that puts it in some terrible gear going down my street.
You got it. Yeah, they're not terribly obnoxious. I mean, if we can tolerate the motorcycles, the Harleys, and all that, we've grown. It's.
I will add in humor, more toleration. Thank you very much. I'm not opposed to it, ladies and gentlemen. As Rod Curry, not just the mayor of Richlands, if I don't understand something, I've got to know about it. Thank you.
Before we move on, I need a consensus on two questions. The first is, which streets do we want to be added to the ordinance? So then when we advertise, there's a copy of the ordinance of exactly what the plan is, and then we'll need some input on the fine penalty. I think there's another town in the county that already has one in place that we were planning on just mirroring what they currently do.
Don, I'm just speaking up here, just taking it. I haven't read the ordinance, and she just said there's not a provision for night riding. I don't know that I can say what streets, from my point of view, maybe other council members can say it. I know front and second, but I would think we would want to be
Option
very
A.
specific.
And what they said.
Yeah, option A, and then go down across
Option A.
to.
Yeah.
Food line?
Option A is going up to Joy Ridge, Big Creek Road, and Front Street, Second Street. Is that it?
And
The
then
little
that street
food
on the
line.
brickyard, that little section in the brickyard.
So would you also be fine with the little cut-throughs between first and second? Between Kid Tire, all
They're
those
gonna
little.
do it anyway, you might.
Yeah, they're
well.
gonna do it, yeah.
I'd rather have them in there, so if it ever gets.
I mean, that
Yeah,
way
it's
there's no
gonna have
question,
to
Jerry's
be
not having to ticket everybody for.
On
running
Floyd
across the
Avenue.
street.
Yeah, and John, I would suggest
Floyd?
talking to Rick some and listening to him, and he's done this so many times that he'll know what they're gonna do anyway.
I appreciate that.
But definitely and agree with that, have everything ready for us to go, and we can even pass it as an emergency in July, so we can expedite.
So y'all good? Y'all.
Yeah, one big thing that the council will need to look at is you have to, through the state code, you have to define what an off-road recreational vehicle is. So,
Well,
whether
that's,
you
pardon
want
me
that
for
to
interrupting you, that's
include
why I ask if
18
these things get souped up, because I'm told they do. I don't know.
Just use the standard definition that they're using for the county's ordinance. I think will be
So there's
adequate.
not a definition out of the state code, and of course, we haven't seen the county's ordinance yet, but we
What
just
about
kind of,
Pocahontas's?
we just kind of patched one together to base it off of what was on 46.2, but it depends on whether you all want to include ATVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's council's decision on how you want to define that.
Have you looked at St. Paul, what that looks like?
I haven't looked at
Yeah,
St.
grab a
Paul's.
copy of St. Paul's and Pocahontas.
Yeah.
No need to reinvent the wheel.
They-
St.
they've
Paul
done
and
it for
Pocahontas.
years.
Yeah, and again, you got Rick that
Yeah,
knows
just
all
ask
this
him what
stuff.
they
I mean,
want.
he knows all of it. So just,
Ordinance-wise, St. Paul probably gonna be your best bet, 'cause they've probably done it the longest.
So you got everything you need.
Pocahontas done it the
Yeah,
longest.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this? So, John, you have the direction, and Mike, do you have the direction on what we need to add to this, and then we can scrutinize it at our meeting? Members of council, thank you for your patience and understanding what we're trying to do. Have they left, Shanna and Rick? Please, Pat, tell Rick thank you, and Shanna, thank you. Okay, Roman numeral 11, B, Economic Development Department discussion. Would like to open up John, would you like to say something about this? I know your feelings, you want it.
At our last meeting, you all asked me to get a copy of kind of what the job description was for Tim Danielson that just presented earlier. This is a letter that I got from Eric. It's not a job description, but essentially Eric said it details exactly what his job duties are.
Eric, the county.
Yes, county manager, or county administrator. And then I've also included our job description that we currently had for the economic development position.
May I say something?
Sure.
One of the citizens had a great idea. Wait 5 or 6 months because our budget's in such a condition. And you saw how, is it Tim from the county? He worked with Appalachian Millworks. And we don't need to add personnel with our budget in such shape, in my opinion. That's probably $40,000, $50,000 that we can't afford right now. That we can let the county, sort of lean on the county and let the county help us. How do you feel, Seth? Darrell?
Well, I mean, I just think we discussed this last time, this job description, this is still the same description you had this is the one you originally advertised, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think this is very broad, and, you know, and also we discussed if we're going to go down this path, we all need input, and I think input in the hiring of, if we decide to go down that path, I think we need to have input in it. But also, to the mayor's point, I think this job description is just too broad. It's too many duties to, it's not a narrow focus. If you read this letter of what Eric gave to Tim, there's a lot of duties on here, but they're very focused duties on what you want, the results that they wanted, if that makes sense.
Okay, Doug's had a thought. Seth has had a thought. Would it, for the benefit of the audience, would it behoove us just to read this? May I? Do you mind?
Yes.
Okay. You do mind?
I don't think we need to read it.
What?
I don't think we need to read it.
Okay. What? Okay, I'll read it.
Here you go, Laura. Here you go.
I'll read it.
Which one's that?
Here's both.
Jeff, if you don't want me to, I won't.
You do what you need to do.
I mean, yeah, if anybody wants a copy, I think we should prepare it, but I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes while you read a job. No
Would
offense,
you
Mr.
rather
Mayor.
just, it won't take 30 minutes. I'll read it pretty fast. Nature of work. This is the economic development, previously community development. Nature of work performs and coordinates planning, zoning, community, and economic development efforts for the town. An employee in this class performs marketing work and assists with planning and zoning duties. Work is performed under regular supervision of the town manager and is evaluated through conferences, review of assigned projects, and reactions of the public and property owners. Essential duties and tasks. This position is under the administrative direction of the town manager and serves as a staff coordinator to the Ramp Up Richlands, Flood Task Force, Industrial Development Authority, and others as assigned. Okay. This position also assists the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission. The employee is responsible for development, administration, and supervision of the town's community and economic development efforts. Work includes supervision of all commercial development and revitalization activities, tracking and reporting of business activity, supervision and evaluation of special events and festivals, development and implementation of public and press relations activities, manages the daily operations of the downtown revitalization efforts, and assists external consultants in long-range planning studies. This includes oversight of grant management at all stages of completion, facilitates special town events such as the Richlands Yard Sale, Summer Festival, and other downtown events of festivals, assists with receiving permits and site plan review of building permit applications, special use requests, and subdivision plats for code compliance. Checks proposed structure or additions against zoning requirements, communicates needed changes, assists with inquiries from the public on interpretation of planning and zoning questions, refers technical and precedent-setting questions to the town manager, assists in the fulfillment of Freedom of Information Act FOIA requests as needed. Additional job opportunity duties. General town administrative business hours are required. Additionally, this position is expected to provide occasional evening and weekend hours for classes, workshops, and/or events. Desirable education and experience. Graduation from a 4-year college or university majoring in the field of business, economic development, marketing, urban and regional planning, or related discipline. Prefer at least 3 years experience in the field of downtown revitalization, business development, public relations, communications, or combination of the above. Must have a valid Virginia driver's license. Knowledges, skills, and abilities. Considerable knowledge of the town's zoning and development codes and ordinances and other related local ordinances. Knowledge of basic business and economic development strategies. Working knowledge of governmental laws, programs, and services related to the code enforcement processes and procedure. Knowledge of the principles and practices and applicable laws regarding planning, subdivision, building permits, and development regulation. Ability to interpret local ordinances, rules and regulations. Knowledge of the application of information technology to research and reporting work activities and records preparation and maintenance, including GIS, spreadsheets, presentation, and other software and peripherals. Skill and conflict resolution. Ability to plan, organize, assign, supervise, implement, and evaluate work of volunteers and subordinates. Ability to plan, organize, assign, supervise, implement, and evaluate a variety of special activities, festivals, and events to promote the town of Richlands. Ability to design, implement, and evaluate strategies to provide information to town council, staff, employees, stakeholders, citizens, and the press. Ability to work effectively with employees and the general public. Ability to communicate effectively in oral and written forms. Ability to document and complete required records and reports. Ability to establish and maintain an effective relationship with the public, press, and other employees. Ability to maintain budget control and administer appropriate purchasing policies and procedures. Ability to implement innovative methods to provide more efficient and effective operations in terms of business, economic, and overall community development. Ability to assist in the development of sound plans for future expansion of economic and community development. Physical standards. Employee must display a professional appearance and dress attire that promotes the town of Richlands and its employees. Must be physically able to operate a variety of automated office machines, but not limited to computers, typewriters, calculators, copiers, facsimile machines, and postage machines. Work standards. Normal place of employee with the town of Richlands Town Hall. Travel and training should be expected that would require out-of-town trips. Background investigation and requirements. Applicant will be subject to a physical examination, drug screening, and criminal background investigation. Wages commensurate with experience and education. Thank you for letting me read that. Yes. Harold.
I'm the vice chair of the Tazewell County IDA, so I may not be the best to speak on this as far as, because I'm going to sway probably towards the county, because I've been on that board for probably 12 years or longer maybe, but 12 at least. And how many economic development directors has Richlands had in the last 12 years? 2 or 3 at least?
2.
The thing is they didn't have one.
We didn't have one, really.
Yeah.
We did not have one. We had one that was a community development. This is what I know. And then we had, the idea was to move away from the community development, which was what Connie did. And that was, I don't know, when they started doing, like, she took over some stuff that Seth was talking about with the yard sales and whatnot. But then also, she was the clerk at the time, but those were 2 separate job duties, from my understanding. And then also, when we were looking at replacing some of the things that were started while she was here, and I could be wrong, but it was John's idea, like, instead of focusing on, like, the things that could possibly be taken care of, like, the community and the yard sales, and we were hoping to move her into more something like, that's why it's kind of like separated, like, you know, there's a little bit of the community development still in the job ad, and then we were more wanting her to focus on the businesses, and maybe not just throw everything at her, am I wrong on that? At once, and move some of the other things that, like what he was talking about, back on to, you know, whatever group was doing it before, you know, kind of along that lines, and somebody that would be focused on that. And that's the only 2 that I'm really aware of. I mean, but I know the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder, because, you know, I've been on the IDA for 12 years, and the town of Richlands has never had a representative come.
That's correct.
I represent Richlands, because, you know, I think Seth was involved in me being appointed at one time, or reappointed, I know. And I think that it's just like what Tim done tonight, and what the IDA is doing, you know, as Doug said, you know, helping with Millworks. And I think the county has got a lot of connections, you know, the VCTA, the Tobacco Commission, their state programs that's available. And, you know, I feel like if your town IDA person is going to have trouble ever getting up to speed to do what the county can do. And I would rather see the $50,000 divided up among the town employees we got now and bring their wage up, is to hire someone that, and again, I'm swayed towards the county because I've been on that board so long, and I know what it can do, that I think that you need to use the county and let the county get funding and do things. Because I don't think you ever get a town can do that, what the county can do.
I mean, I'm sure at any time, that they could call Tim.
They could call me. They
Call
call
Darrell
me.
and get help without having someone's, and we've got 10 people in that administration already. This will be the 11th one. I mean, work with the county. Let the county help us. That's what we pay our taxes for, you know? And I'm sure they can call Darrell, they can call Tim and get help, and they've got experience in zone, all this stuff that economical development that we need.
And you know, the town's gonna get $30,000 spent down here. That's not gonna cost the town anything unless the, town wants to give a rebate on improvement on the real estate tax, which I think is a good program. And Tim brings all this to the table and his knowledge with it.
I just think it would be difficult for $50,000 to hire, someone, the person that you really need to be an economic development director. I mean, that's a $75,000, $90,000 job minimum. And the job description that we have, and maybe the idea is that there are some things that John needs help with that could be, I just don't think you're describing, the job description is not really for an economic development director. I'm not saying you don't need help or that there's some things that don't need to be done. And especially, and I agree, if we're going to do this grant thing with the downtown revitalization and all that stuff, and we want to do those things, we all know that's very beneficial. It's a lot of money spent in our community from private dollars and public dollars. I'm not saying you don't need help, but I just think that the description that we have may not be the path that we want to go down with that. Does that make sense?
Well, and the reason I wanted to read it, just for people to hear, just for me to hear all those things in my brain again, the description, that's all, John. It's sort of broad. Heather, you want to speak?
Well, basically, I think that regardless of what, what I think that Seth is saying is that he understands what we're saying, that we need help and we don't want to quit doing some of these items, but that's probably not the, whatever you want to call it, job duty. And a lot of those things in that job description are just one-time things. They're not going to be something that somebody's, it does sound like a lot, but it's, you only have Veterans Day one time. I mean, it's one time a year. You don't have it over and over and over. But, and also what Darrell was saying, it's not quite the same because that's not really what they were focusing on prior, because it was a community development position, which, we had hoped would, if we're getting into all of that, be something different. So I guess what John was trying to say is here's ours and here's the county's. We weren't sure where, what you wanted, how you wanted to go about doing that,
Well, I don't know either, but I'm just wondering, John, I don't know. I know you had just a list the last time. Is this the same thing we've advertised? Okay. Is it possible? I'll leave the other people speak. I've spoken probably too much, but I wonder, can we narrow this down to more like economics? What do you think, Heather? Speak.
I just don't feel like that.
Look, all of our job descriptions are very broad and vague because you never know what we're going to need somebody to do. So they're intentionally left that way so somebody can't say, nope, all I do is A, B, and C. Because there's always those other things that we have to do that aren't in our job descriptions.
Right.
So that's why this is.
It's a broad description.
This was pretty similar to most of the other ones we have for every employee.
Right, and I don't think it's necessarily that we need to bring it less. I mean, really what you would want to do is, if you were moving forward with that position, like this is where we're starting you out, and these are kind of the things that, we would kind of like you to take care of, but eventually we want to move this back to whatever group took care of it before, and focus mainly on what it is, like economic development, and, understand that, and maybe it would be the best, if somebody has to, if they were having an annual review or whatever, like these are the highlights. There's nothing wrong with saying that these are the things that you need to achieve, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But to begin, you know, I think that there would have to be someone take over that in order to transition it into whatever you're wanting it to be, if that makes sense.
Right.
So we don't want to take the away from people, like things that we've always done, but it would be a good start for someone in a position, whatever you want to call it, to be able to create and move it back to wherever took care of it when they had people in groups and that took care of it prior to that, if that makes sense.
What does Tim do? Economical development. What town does he oversee? Are we saying that Richlands is going along, he'll do Bandy and the rural areas? I mean, he does the whole county, including Richlands. I don't understand why that you want one specific one in Richlands when we already have someone, Revitalization Richlands. If you call Tim up, he's going to give you all the help he can, and he will work with you.
But a lot of stuff this person does isn't what we need to rely on the county for. We need to
I'm
rely on
not
this
sure
for
this
business.
person needs to be called economic
Yeah,
development.
that's what we're getting to. You call it
Right.
community relations or business,
Whatever.
Community and business relations or downtown market or whatever,
So what happens, we get in this, we wait, hypothetically, let's just think about it. We wait to hire this position. I'm not gonna call it economic development director, I think we've established that's a vague portion of it. Let's say we don't go with this person, and we're right in the middle of this revitalization grant.
We won't get there.
What do you mean?
Right now, we have $75,000 we've received to start doing the planning.
Okay.
We haven't contracted out with a planner yet to do it, because it doesn't make sense to spend $75,000 if we aren't gonna have somebody to do the next, work on that, and facilitate that, so.
Right.
That
I
money
think
would-
what some members of council are saying is that we want Tim to do that.
Nothing gets Tim, but it gets in that weird spot where like I'm signing my name saying these funds are used a certain way, and then records are not here, and the oversight, it gets.
I don't think Tim's gonna do that. That's not an
I don't think so.
that's not an economic
But that's what we're
development
asking,
function.
I mean, that would be the ask though, because we
No,
don't have the manpower to do it, right?
No, I think what we need to do in the interim is, you guys need to move forward with that, and I know you got a lot on you, but we do need to move forward with that in anticipation that, and like I said, I understand and I see that you need somebody to help, but that person's not an economic development person.
Right.
But these grants are substantial, and it's potentially a lot of money.
I agree.
And I'm not against that. I'm not against you saying you need help, but you do need to move forward with it now, because we don't want to miss out on that opportunity. That stuff's been laying there for a year now.
Yeah.
And that needs to move forward.
You're talking downtown revitalization?
Yes, what he's talking about right
Over $1
now.
million, yeah.
That's the number one priority.
I think that needs to move forward, because what happens is, we get awarded this grant, we fail, and we don't do it. The next time we go to ask them for something, they're not
Get
gonna
nothing.
give it to us because we didn't execute on what we asked for.
Yeah, you get nothing. Yeah.
So I don't know what has to happen on the town level right now, and I know you don't have the person, but you guys you're gonna have to allocate some time, pull in whoever you need to pull in to do it on your staff, but that has to go forward right now.
We only have 7 people, like that doesn't include John, but that's all, we don't have 10. We have 7.
I understand it. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, whatever you need to do to get that ball rolling, I understand that. And again, I understand you might need more help with this in facilitating that, but if we don't ever get started, we're gonna miss out on an opportunity.
And budget-wise, like, I would have to know, I guess, even if you gave that job duty to someone else, like, they can't work, and let's just say they're getting charged, their wages are getting charged to whatever department, let's just say they currently work here, and then they're doing this, it really should be charged to that department where they're working for. Do you see, I mean, either way, what you decide, I would just need something, I would want to know, like, what are they supposed to be doing for what department?
The next
In all due respect, you're absolutely right, and this doesn't really say it.
Well, that's because it had its own, like, that's the way it was when Connie was there.
Uh-huh.
So they just kind of added some stuff that we were hoping to focus on more of like economic development.
Right.
But then COVID came, and so Connie didn't even really get to do a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff. And it was just, then, now it's going back to normal. And it was the idea is with this coming up, that was kind of what we were trying to move to. But in agreement with what everybody said, regardless of what you call it, there's still not a body there to do it.
There's a need for somebody to do
Yes.
something.
Right.
But in the interim, you guys are gonna have to find the time to get the ball rolling, is what I'm saying. Like, I understand that's a task, but you cannot be awarded this grant and fail. Like, we have to allocate the time to do that. Does that make sense? Like, I understand you need help. I hear what you're saying, but we gotta go forward right now.
We've got a little bit of time for that. Correct.
The next meeting, could I have a list of what duties and how many people you have in that office? Next meeting, could you provide me that? I want names of clerks, what they do, and their duties, okay?
Like a job description?
Yes, of all 7 or 10 of every what you have. And
Well,
that
not include John.
that includes your clerks too,
Right.
okay? If you'll provide me that list, I'd like to see it.
What is council's wish here? See, we're not at an impasse. I think we know we need something, but the description for me leaves me blank. And I'm thinking of the many things, when I read all this, be familiar with this. When I was on the planning commission, Richard Vance was here, and he knew it backwards and forward. He even had to check on the meaning and interpretation of these codes for zoning. So I'm just going back in my experience. And I don't know that someone can hop in here and have that kind of experience to know about interpretation of zoning and codes. But I mean, I'm saying that, and honestly, I'm not sure that can happen immediately. We come with experience, and we all start somewhere. Is it possible that we could zero in on the revitalization of Richlands, and that's the focus, and have someone focus on that because it's a big deal?
And I don't think that's
What do you think?
That's probably not a $50,000 job either.
Well,
It's
I'm just
probably
asking.
a $15 an hour job.
If
you know?
you
I mean, I'm
get this
just trying to
job down to
prioritize
what it's supposed
what
to
I-
be,
Right, it's not as
then you know who
expensive.
you're hiring.
Yes.
It's like you said, so if you can't hire an economic development
Then,
person
are you thinking?
50,000.
Yes, you're
No,
thinking.
I think that is where we had it more of like a 15,
Like, 39, 40.
yeah.
Well, you're not gonna get an economic development person.
Right, and that's because of the task that's really designed, like,
Right.
for that current job duties. If that person were to take on and,
But let me just say, also, this person doesn't need to be doing FOIA stuff and.
well, that's only as requested, like if we are asking for things from them that they have.
You just
that
need
they
to put
would provide.
all other duties assigned
Assigned,
and
yes.
take that nonsense out of there. And then that way, if you need them to do something, you pull them in if they're not busy. You
Right.
make them do whatever you need them
Right.
to do. But to Rod's note, this person doesn't need to be doing zoning. John's zoning administrator, he's gonna have to
Yeah.
understand that piece. I think if you can come back to us next meeting with a better job description, more focused on, revitalization, downtown coordinating, whatever, that looks, I understand that. And again, I understand the need, but in the interim, if there's something you need to do on that grant, please get that done before the next, we cannot let that fall down. That's something that directly impacts the town, it directly impacts our tax bases, and it directly impacts every property owner who can potentially benefit from that.
In the zone, yeah.
In the zone. That's important. A lot of us are spending dollars that we aren't getting any dollars matched. Lots of dollars. And the more that you can leverage that, the more that we can get done. And the end result is it creates a higher tax basis, which we could show from the last time that happened, how much property values increase.
Property values go
I,
up.
I agree with you, Seth, but I still don't understand why we're not going to get the experience we need for the revitalization. Why can't we work with the County and Tim. I'm sure that's his job for the whole county.
Not
Work with-
revitalization of town. Like Tim is out here.
And he's not gonna manage a grant.
No, that's a waste of Tim's time. Tim's job is to be out here doing this, which is he's working to put people in empty buildings. Like the way I always saw it from the county IDA perspective. If we have empty property, we made sure we give him a list when I was a supervisor for Northwestern District. Tim, this is, or whoever, this is what the list is. I have these buildings empty. This is what manufacturing facilities, this is what retail is empty. That, we give him that, provide that to him so he knows. Like if he gets a client and they call into the county constantly because everybody wants something, or they're looking for something, or he has, he's searching for these folks, and he tries to find people that can fit those things.
I understand that, but once we get the grants or the buildings filled and all, and we do get a grant, I mean, you just check the list off with the grant, and I think you've got enough personnel in the office. I mean, we had 6,500 people, and we had 4 people in that office. Now you're full, and our budget, we can't afford. Everybody in town is ashamed. Our workers don't have trucks. They're rusted down. The departments have nothing to work with. I mean, this town is pitiful because they spend the money in the wrong places. And we have a switch now. If the water plant goes down, we don't know how we're going to come up with $100 and some thousand to replace that switch. Yet we're wasting our time in this meeting over some zoning person or somebody to you better take care of what you got. What you got is falling apart. Your infrastructure, you have no infrastructure because you bled all the money on other directions.
I have a thought I'll share with you. I may share this with council. We need some direction so we don't just keep going on this tonight. What is council's desire? John, is it too much to ask you, and you just be honest with me, to narrow this description down to something more like strictly what you would consider economic development?
I don't think it needs to be economic development.
Okay.
I think we need to go back to
Community development.
Yeah, to
Okay.
community development, and somebody that can do grants and stuff and pay them a lot less than
Okay.
what
Well, that's an idea.
economic development would have to be. And that's Seth's idea. I'm stealing it from him. So.
Okay, well, that's all right. We all steal things all the time. Any other thoughts here, gentlemen and ladies?
Yeah, just one thought. We're talking about the revitalization, but that's not the only thing that we have going. We've literally got the USDA trying to give us money for a revolving loan fund.
Mm-hmm.
And someone has to administer it.
Right, that's fine.
So-
That's a duty that would fall under
Yeah,
that.
it would fall under
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that
And,
needs
and
to be
that's,
in there.
that's why that's important. Like, somebody's got to manage that, and that's free money for businesses in our town.
I agree, Mike.
And in your job description, say this person's going to go to the planning commission meetings. They're going to go to the IDA meetings. They need to go to the county IDA meetings. Whatever it is you want them to do, go ahead. That's
involved.
okay to line that out.
Be
But to
involved.
be involved is the whole key to that. And also, I would say this. The last folks that we've had, no one's been by my business to ever visit me from this town to ask me anything. Get out into the community and get involved with what's going on. Heather, you don't count.
I've got as many businesses. I've got as many businesses as anyone in town, and I've never had one person to come and help me or ask me questions. The only thing I hear from the town is when something goes wrong, they want to criticize. I've never had one person in economic development help me, ever.
Well, one of the things that we did at the county, and Daryl will remember this, we did like they kind of went around, we took camera equipment, we interviewed people, but we also built like a book, and it had, like this person provides these services. That would be a great thing to have in town. These folks provide these services, and that way, when we used to do the business-to-business showcases, what other people, you want people in Richlands to do business with people in Richlands and vice versa. There's all these things that people provide and do here, and I think sometimes we miss that. you know, the best way to grow business in your town is to grow your existing businesses. That's what Tim was pitching tonight, you know, help an existing business to grow. That's how you create, that's the number one job creation. It's not the Project Jonah. That's a once in a lifetime thing for us. You know, that may never happen again. But there are all kinds of things we can do to help existing businesses to grow and to create jobs.
90% of your economic development growth comes from within.
I agree.
It does.
So
Maybe
just
we
so
live
I'm
here
clear,
investing.
are we redoing it and sending it back out and then?
Start fresh.
Yeah, let's
Bring
don't
us
call
something
it,
that we
let's
can
don't
look
call
at
it
the next
economic
meeting.
development, because that's not what they're gonna be.
Right, but like if,
What y'all need them to do?
You already turned down you already told the candidates we're not hiring for that position last time, right? On our direction.
Right.
Okay, so this is all new. You're not putting out a job request yet. Bring that to us, let us look at it, and then go from there.
well, I mean, I'm just saying like next time, like should I send it beforehand because this is like a long.
I
Yep.
think so.
Yep.
I think that's
You
a
know
great
what
I'm
idea, so that we can have it, say, lined and dotted, whatever, before we get here,
Okay.
not have this lengthy
Okay.
discussion. Is that acceptable to members of council?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, Heather. Okay, let's see here. We are on Roman numeral 11, item C, proposed 2022-2023 budget, second reading and adoption, ordinance 2022-0503, utility schedules and riders.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we skip the second reading of this ordinance.
Okay. We had the
Waive
first
second
reading.
Sorry.
So there is a motion, are you following? A motion to dispense with the second reading.
I'll second that motion.
And there's a second. Is there any discussion on this motion to dispense with the second reading of ordinance 2022-0503, utility schedules and riders?
Oh, is that the utility rates?
Schedules and riders.
Yeah.
We're not saying not discuss it, we're just waiving the reading of it.
Waiving the
It was
reading,
read
the
last-
second reading, because, what's his name, Brad Pike read it all the last time.
Any discussion?
Okay.
So there's a motion on the floor and there's a second. All in favor of the motion, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Now we need to consider a motion to adopt. I'm looking for the attorney. When you're ready to adopt this ordinance, is that correct? So we have ordinance 2022-0503 in front of us, utility schedules and riders. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Mike makes the motion to adopt the ordinance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jeff makes the second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So the only thing that I would ask is, Thompson Lint was here tonight, and we are not pursuing, building of the plants, which is the whole reason that we were told we were increasing the water and sewer rates, correct? Now, I think it would be prudent to, before you vote on this, to go over what the rates are now and what the rates are going to. And for each of these. And it's just basically I don't mean read the entire thing. I'm
No,
just
just
talking
the
about
highlights.
the highlights.
What it was and what it proposed to be.
Correct. And I just think that's something that we need to consider. And everyone keeps saying, this is what VRA said that we have to have our rates at. Well, I've not seen that document. And are we putting it at exactly what VRA said we need to have our rates at? Are we $2 above that? Are we $1 below it?
Seth, I don't know. I'm unaware. I don't know exactly.
I just keep hearing that repeated, and I understand that. And I understand that because, I've been on the PSA board. I understand how all that operates, but I just keep hearing that, but I have not. No one's tangibly said this is what they're saying it has to be.
Well, as a starter, John or Heather, do you have what we were charging and what the proposed new rates are, just figures? Okay. That's one thing you were asking, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The new rates are here, but I don't have the old ones.
What are the new rates, John? If you'll read them for everybody. You don't have to read 50,000 pages, just what are the new rates, if you can.
It's the two Excel sheets.
Okay. I'll pull them up. We have this in our packet. Is it right here? Okay. Okay. John, if you highlight those for us, that would be very helpful, okay?
So it depends on the meter size, but your standard .625 meter or lines, $13.64 minimum monthly charge, and an additional $3.38 per additional 1,000 gallons. That's for in-town water rates. For sewer, same meter size, $17.89 minimum monthly charge, and then $4.50 per 1,000 gallons. Out of town, same meter size, $20.82 minimum, and then $4.70 per 1,000 gallons. And then out of town sewer is $27.28, $6.27 per 1,000.
Do you know, and no one knows what the existing, what the current?
I don't have one.
Could I say something?
Yes, you may.
Discussion.
We're in the
Everything,
discussion period.
yeah, everything we know has to increase with time, but we've accelerated the increases by, we're taking close to $1 million out of these utilities, putting it in another department and using it for other things. When we could look at that $1 million and not take it out of the utilities and not raise these electric rates and water rates and sewer rates and cut the budget for things that we don't need. I mean, there's a lot of fat in that budget, and nobody ever, I've been on here almost 20 years. I can never remember when the budget was really cut once it was handed to us. I don't mean to bring up anything about 911. There's $300,000 to $400,000 that we know at some time, if we get a new council in November, we're going to switch to 911, hopefully. That will save $300,000 to $400,000 right there. That we're paying $600 to the county that we're not able to use. There's other things besides that $300,000 or $400,000 in that budget that we don't have to spend, that we could save and not raise these utility rates. And for that reason, I'll vote no, knowing that things have to increase, but you don't have to accelerate it on wasteful spending.
Okay, thank you.
I just think that, the reason I'm asking this, I think that people need to know this is what you're paying today. Then after we vote on this, this is what you're going to be paying. Like, I think that's a reasonable, you see what I'm saying? I think that's reasonable for me to say this is what it is now and this is what it's going to be. But, and also, like, I've not seen this study that says this is where you need to set your level. I keep hearing that, and I'm fine with that. I understand that you have to set that at a certain level. But now also, how does this change the budget? This is all new. No one told me until we got our packets that, we weren't moving forward with these projects. That absolutely has to change our budget for this year. We budgeted money towards those projects. So what happens to that? Is that right?
There's no money budgeted.
No money.
All loans, so we're drawing down and paying the bill, but we're not actually.
There's no repayment in this budget cycle. Okay.
Seth, may I address that? You're talking about rates, what they were, and what the future of the rates are. It's completely spewed by what money I keep harping on this, that's going to cause your rates not to be, it's going to spew the rates where that the rates are not correct. I don't care. You're looking at the old rates versus the new rates. Okay, let's take water. If you take $200 and some thousand off the top, that's going to make your rates rise. So I don't even understand why you can even go with the rates. If you're taking something off the top, you're completely throwing those rates out the door because you're taking so much money out and using it for something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Doug, and I've heard you say this, and I also understand what they're saying by they're allocating the department, because there are people that work in here that are collecting the bills, and that's part of their time.
I would like to have a job to run the department and do the billing for $200 and some thousand. I would love to have that job. I'll take that. You know?
I know what you're saying.
I mean, I could do that. I could do that.
But what they're saying, what they're doing is an accounting principle, which I understand. And I understand what you're saying, too.
All the employees are paid within that department already. You forget that. Like all the workers and so forth in that department, that's not including. They're already paid. They're just taking it off the top. Okay, we didn't used to do that. We didn't take anything out of the electric 10 years ago. We didn't. We made it fine.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
And points well taken, points well taken. Is there any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on this floor, I do believe.
Yeah, for me, Mayor, it was easy for me. Mr. Chitwood did an amazing job of explaining exactly what it looks like, explaining that the rate increase is based on the debt that we're going to incur. It's very risky for us to not do the upgrades yet. It's very risky. Like, he literally sat here and told me there's 50-50 chance that, something's going to happen, right? That tells me this needs to happen very bad for us to continue to serve citizens with water. And it's just one of those things we have to deal with. It's over 30 years old, and this takes care of that. I don't have any issues with it.
Okay. Mike, anything else?
Nope.
Do you have any? Go ahead, John.
Our plan is to have the person do the rate study to get us to where those numbers are, have them updated projects 4 to 5 months. So I know that some of the rates went in later than the original projection. So to see, did we come out better than we thought? Are we below, behind? And then at that point, we'll really get a good idea of where we are compared to where we need to be.
Any other, thank you, John. Any other discussion on this?
Well, I understand. Just one point to what Mikey was saying. I don't know what Mr. Chitwood's credentials are, but I've known him for a long time. And a lot of times when they come, you get the Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Just being honest with you, I've been around for a long time.
That's true.
I saved the county $10 million when they told us that the landfill, we just had to build this new phase of the landfill. We had to do this. It was done. I got the original engineer that built the landfill in here. We did a shift. We didn't have to, and we had 25 years of life left on the landfill. So I'm not going to carte blanche say any person that walks in here and says, they're an expert. They know what they're talking about. I'm not doing that because I know that's not true. But my whole point with this is that we have raised, you guys, I was on here, and Daryl wasn't on here. I don't think maybe for part of it, but you literally raised every single fee and every tax, everything, bar none, everything, power rates, water rates, sewer rates, and this is proposing to do it again. It's too much. And you know what? People missed it the first time. They didn't get angry until they got their bill, which is exactly what I said was going to happen. You already had 2 council people resign over this. Other people have left. And the reality is people are angry. And they don't understand when I sit here and I say, what's the old rate and what's the new rate going to be? And no one can tell me that. That's not right. That's not transparency. And people need to know, you're paying this today. After this vote and after this goes into place,
the rate
will be this, and it's going to go up. And that's what I'm trying to say. I disagree with this because Not saying that the principle is not right, but again, no one said, hey, Seth, this man says we have to raise it to this exact number, or we're not going to get this grant funding. Never seen that. No one's provided that to me, have not seen it. And that's my point. You're basing your information on something that Rick Chitwood's saying or someone that somebody else says, but there's no hard facts, you know? No one said this is what it has to be. And I don't mean to always do this, and it's hard for me not to. I spent so many years on the county. But at the county, if something was going to change, we would have a bullet-pointed slide up. This is what our rate was last year. This is what the new rate's going to be.
Well, that's
very transparent.
Thank you, Seth.
Sorry.
No need to apologize. We're all speaking our minds. I would say at this point in time, John, is there anything you want to add to this as the manager? Heather is our financial director. Is there anything you want to add? Okay. I think we're ready for a roll call vote. Is council ready for a roll call vote? Becca, would you have, the motion was made by, who made the motion? Mike, and seconded by Jeff to accept this ordinance. To be clear, it's ordinance number 2022-0503, Title V, Public Works. Okay. So that is the motion. There's a second, and I will call for the question. Would you please have a roll call vote, Becca?
Yes. No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
So we have 3 yays, is that correct? Would you please verify that, Becca, and 3 nays? So it's a tie vote, it's an ordinance, and I cannot break a tie on an ordinance. So, Mr. Attorney, I'd say we're just sitting here with no change. It's a tie vote on an ordinance. I cannot vote to break a tie on an ordinance. So we're sitting here, and I would say with a stalemate, we're at the old rate. Would you give us your legal advice on that, please?
As far as that's the rate you would be at, what you were at last.
The one that is in place.
That is in place. There is no change to water, sewer.
Okay. So the motion, the current rate stands. Motion is a tie, and there is no action on this ordinance.
If you wanted to make sure that the utility rates stay the same, I would entertain somebody to approve the rates from last year to be for this year as well.
Would you suggest that?
I would suggest that.
Okay, well, we didn't seem to have in front of us, so I guess we are going to be satisfied with that. So I will ask for a motion. Heather, go ahead.
I can tell you what they are.
Please do. Most helpful. Thank you, ma'am.
Is this what you're looking for?
Kristen, got it.
For in-town sewer rates, it was $4.05 per 1,000 gallon. Out-of-town sewer rates was $5.40 per gallon. That was, and then out-of-town, in-town water rates was 3.29 per 1,000 gallons, and out-of-town water rates were 4.39 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay, does everybody, were they able to hear Heather on what the rates were? So I would ask for a motion to adopt the rates that we're currently using.
I'll make that motion.
Can I ask, How's this is gonna, Rick said, and and I understand said, how's this gonna affect our funding to upgrade? We won't get no funding? The town will have to pay for everything?
Well, the study that Seth's talking about, I mean, it gives you, this is not where we're supposed to be, but it gives you an idea of how you're supposed to increase it over time, like, instead of all at one time within so long to get you at the percentage rate of reserves and so that you'll have enough to complete that. I have no idea if they're not adopted, how that will work going forward.
I have a question, and that's pertinent to what you're saying. I always think of budgets and fluids as fluid. If we should come back and we know more about this, can we alter this at the will of the council? I would think so.
Well, that's what they told us last time when we talked about doing away with dispatch.
We don't want to miss an
As far as
opportunity.
the budget goes, yeah.
Yes,
you can do that.
so we could change this if we needed to.
If we seen it was gonna affect our funding and we was gonna cost the town
Right.
$15 million, you know,
Yes, you can do that.
we
Well, I
could
want to make
change
sure
it.
we have that safety guard.
Right, yeah.
Well, I could say more, but it could be in error, and I don't think I should be doing that. So we have a motion, let's see, do we have a motion? Doug made a motion, and who seconded that motion?
What is this motion?
The motion is to accept the rates that we currently have. That's his
Instead of the
suggestion.
new rates?
Yeah.
What I would say
Okay.
is to adopt this into the code of ordinances where it should be. You've already had the first reading. If you're not gonna raise the rates, you've already got the first reading to get it back in there, to where if you do wanna change the rates later, all you will have to do is read those rates instead of read this whole ordinance over again.
But it seems to me like the motion, we shouldn't have to do this because the motion failed.
It's standing.
I mean, no, I mean, not,
The current motion from last year is still standing.
right.
What I'm saying is the way it was adopted last year, it wasn't incorporated into the code of ordinances like it should have been.
Oh, it was not?
That's why it's.
That's why he's asking us to
Okay.
make the motion adopt the rates as they
Okay.
are.
Well, that makes sense. I didn't realize it was not adopted into the code of ordinance like it should have been.
That's why we had to read the whole thing there.
Okay.
So if we solidify using the rates from last year instead of this year, we're solidifying those are the rates we're gonna use, essentially completely crippling anything we wanna do in regards to any funding. Is that essentially?
You're not building
case?
this until 2023 now. You're
And
not
you-
even going back out for
But we can
proposal.
go back and raise them.
But
if
we're
we have
getting
to
ready to
for
send
funding.
we're getting ready to send a letter, trying to understand here, we're getting ready to send a letter saying we wanna hold off. But these people are under the impression that we're raising rates. And now we're sending them a letter that's not accurate. We're not raising our rates apparently. So now we have to go.
I don't
Uh-uh.
think the
I think
letter
we're
said
buying
we was
time.
raising rates.
To look at it closer.
We're not sending a letter that we're not raising rates. We're sending a letter to halt.
Yeah, that we're not doing
The-
this right now.
Right.
Yeah,
What I'm trying
we're-
to tell you is,
yeah.
the letter is saying we want to halt our funding, but
No.
we're not holding up our end of the deal, that funding is because we agreed to adopt a rate study that says we're going to raise these
A
rates.
past board's actions cannot bind a future board's actions. So whatever you do in a past board, elections have consequences. And so what happens is no board can ever bind a future board. So no matter what you agreed to or what you did, it has no bearing on the vote that we take right now. Does that make sense?
I totally get that, but the rate study that we approved showed, here's what we plan to do. I get what you mean, though. And because we planned to do that, they gave us
You don't want to
over
mislead them.
Yeah, I don't want to mislead
I'm
anybody.
reading this letter
$3 million.
right here.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a look at it again?
Yeah, I read it. I just think we need to alter it now.
If you adopt the current rates for another year, I'll reach out to them and see how it's going to impact it. I want to say that we had like 5 years to get them to that threshold. It was, but it was like, 16, 10, 10, and like 7 and 3%. So it might be at the end you could just backload the increases, but that's what we're going to do.
I may
there.
be making a big mistake, so let me just butt in here, if I may say. one of the reasons they were encouraging us to raise rates, our rates were low, and we did, because they were so low, we were not eligible for this help that they could give us. So we're trying, excuse me for speaking up, but I must, we're trying to get our rates to a level where we're eligible for help. It shows that we cannot make it even with these increased rates. But they think our rates are so low that they're not going to make us eligible for help.
Correct.
Is that it in a general nutshell?
No.
Okay. I just read this, and Mike, I understand your concern. I don't think it specifically says this, and if it does, we are fluid. Budgets and documents are always fluid, and I think we could come back rather than lose the opportunity. I'm suggesting that, and I don't know, and you may feel differently. And we could adjust this so that we do make ourselves eligible for the help that we definitely need.
Yeah.
As I become very demonstrative about it, because I think that's it.
And
So
what-
I think we're ready for a vote. Would you please suggest what we're supposed to vote on and clarify Doug's motion?
As far as the ordinance that was read last month, or in the past couple of weeks, you are adopting that ordinance, but without the rate changes, with the current rates as what they are, to adopt it back into the code of ordinances like it should be. But it will be very clear that it's not with elevated rates, it's with the current rates as of now.
Okay, I have a suggestion, because you've got the lingo. Would you please make that very clear in the motion form, and Doug will say ditto, and make sure that Becca gets it, and we're moving ahead.
There will be a motion to approve the rate schedule, the utility schedules and riders to incorporate into the code of ordinances without any rate changes, but with the current rates we have today.
I make a motion that we have the current rates that we have now, and that no rate increases, and it be incorporated into the ordinance.
Are you clear with that? Because I'm relying on your legal expertise.
If you want him to write that up for Becca, that might be good too.
I think that would be advisable.
Are we still in discussion?
Yeah, we have.
There's just a motion
Was there
on
a
the floor.
second?
I'll second,
You made a
Mr. Mayor.
motion, you made a second. Now, we're still in discussion, Mike.
Yeah. So for me, I think Mr. Chitwood made it very clear on what we needed to do. We had a plan in place. I get that didn't go this way. I fully support the increases here based on the current plant that we have. For that reason, I'll be voting no to leave our rates the way they are. I don't think that's the right call. But obviously, I'm just one person, so I just want to let council know that.
I mean, I think as long as we can come back later, if it affects funding.
Yeah.
You know,
To be clear,
yeah.
are we fluid in the budget? We can alter it?
Yes.
We're fluid. Thank you. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Mike, any other discussion?
If we're going to say, and I just want to be thorough here, and I want everyone to understand what this looks like. If we're going to go back and raise these later, potentially, only thing I would urge is each council member seek the information that you need to understand why this needs to happen. That's my only ask from council.
Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion before I call for the question?
I'll just say that if you're going to do something, have your information, have it available, be public and transparent. And when I ask, what's the rate today and what's the rate tomorrow, and where is the study that says this is what it has to be, I feel like those are three things that should have had here tonight. And so if we have that fluid discussion later on, I believe that's information that I would have, and I would have it available so everybody could see it. That makes sense.
Any other discussion before I call for the question?
I agree with him. I would like to see the study and how much it needs to be and why we're making these changes.
Okay.
Do you
And
still
I
got
did
copies of that
understand.
greatrates.com, what Mr. Brown
Say
He
that
put it
again,
in the
Jeff.
binder, he put it in the binder for us. The whole, and he came and
Carl,
presented
was it
that night.
Carl Brown? What's his name?
Brown, something.
John,
like
can you
that.
get copies of that?
It's in a
I
binder,
think
yeah,
it's
it's
Carl, yeah.
greatrates.com or something.
And I think you need to add something to that. How
He
much,
did, Jeff.
how much are you going to take out for so-called shared expenses as the fourth thing you need to know? Because that changes everything of how much money you take off the top.
So I think we have concluded discussion to make absolutely certain that I'm not excluding anyone on this council. Okay, I'm calling for the question. Becca, would you have a roll call vote, please?
No,
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
This passes on a 4-2. Thank you, council. I just want to say something before we go on to the next item of business, because I hear this all the time, and I must say it as the mayor of Richlands, that people look to us for entertainment. And if they do, that's okay too, because I'd rather have a vibrant discussion than everybody just going, yes, 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 let's go home. That is not a healthy way to have a democracy. And even though we all disagree vehemently sometimes, it's okay. Thank you. So to the outside world, please take Richlands seriously. This is a good town, and I've spent my life here, as most of the people have, and I'm very proud of it, and I want to stay that way. Thank you.
well said.
John, Town Manager Report.
So the first item, we had, the Planning Commission met, and they had 3 items for discussion at their last meeting. They've essentially requested all 3 for public hearings, joint public hearings with Town Council. After I spoke to legal, there's one that deals with a medical drug rehab. We've had this in the past. Our zoning isn't clear on how that's allowed or where. So, I'd ask council to, allow them to kind of, look at that and draft something for discussion, because really we don't have,
Is that the one at Washington Square?
no, I think the Mullins Building, the
Doesn't
it's
matter.
the 1825 Front Street.
Okay. All right, so that one, and what else, John?
And then the other two, I'm fine if council's, willing to have that public hearing, joint public hearing, we'll have that at our next.
So you're suggesting we have a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission at our next regularly scheduled
Correct.
meeting in July regarding 2 properties.
Correct.
And the Planning Commission will have a public hearing, they'll recess, they'll come back, they'll make a recommendation to council, and council can accept it or reject it.
Correct.
Got it.
And then the other one, it's more complicated, you want to speak on that, but essentially we'll need,
You have a definition of what this company is wanting to do, but from the definition, there's no way to put it into the zoning, or you don't allow for it in the zoning. So we would have to look at the zoning to amend that, if that's something you all would want to entertain. But it sounds like the Planning Commission is wanting to at least have the hearing on it and let you all be a joint to hear them out.
That's important. Having served on the commission for years, it is important that they have the council's input, and then council can send it back to the commission for further study, if that is the desire of council. Okay. What's next, John? Engineering RFP.
So we put out the RFP for engineering services, the agreement we currently have with Thompson and Litton. We only received one qualified bid on that. It was Thompson and Litton, so we plan on.
Did you put that out on Electronic Virginia? Okay.
So, at this point, we're planning on doing, basically sole source and moving forward with, writing up an agreement with them to continue to provide that service, similar to how they have, over the last few years.
Is that the retainer?
Yeah.
And
How much?
It hasn't been set yet. I think it's any project up to 100,000. After that, we have to go back out for full procurement.
upon our review of procurement in Virginia, the Richlands Code was enacted a long time ago, their procurement policy. Virginia, the state of Virginia allows up to 800 or 80,000, and Richlands only allows up to 10,000 for single-use procurement. So you all may want to look into that to allow it to be as broad as state, or that's totally up to you. It's just something we found out.
I think that's probably too broad. Just my opinion. I mean, I always feel like being more narrow on procurement is, the state allows you to be very aggressive sometimes on things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing for all of us. So just my thoughts, and I guess I really want to revisit our entire procurement policy anyway.
Okay.
And that's a council decision. I was just pointing that out. That was upon our review, so whatever council decides to do.
So Seth, you would like to have our procurement policies reviewed?
Yeah, I'd like to revisit that and review that and make some tweaks to that. Like number one, requiring Electronic Virginia to always, every procurement has to go through electronic. And I appreciate you guys doing that, but I think everything should go through Electronic Virginia.
Okay.
That's something we'd have to add to our policy. Instead of, many times in the past, local governments have avoided procurement by putting an ad in the Bluefield paper. Well, then you call your buddy who you want to bid the service, and it's just in the Bluefield
We have
paper.
found that to be true in another instance, which
Right,
not
so that's what I'm
really-
saying. I'm not pointing out a specific thing. I'm just saying
Yeah.
more transparency, more openness in government.
We never know what opportunities are out there.
That's right.
So, is council amenable to asking for, what do you want?
I'd like to review it, or maybe we can have a copy of it the next meeting, and then put some bullet points on it and make some changes, and then we can adopt a new
From our
procurement
attorney.
policy. Yeah, I mean, he can bring out what he
Are you
has.
okay
and-
with that, Mike? Can
And
you do
then we
that?
can make some suggestions, and we can.
Read it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Are you okay with that, sir? Okay, thank you. All right, next, board member update and the new appointments. I think we've got some for planning commission and some for IDA, is that right?
Yes, we do.
Kristen, do you have any thoughts on planning commission?
Greg Horn, who is a instructor over at the college, has voiced an interest in giving his time to the town and would be interested in planning commission.
Okay, do you want to put that in form of a motion?
I make a motion, we consider Greg Horn for planning commission.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll second the motion.
And Mike seconds the motion. Is there any discussion for Greg
Considering or appointing?
to appoint him?
Okay. You just said consider, I didn't know.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing?
No, the motion was to consider.
Oh, sorry.
To appoint him.
Sorry, to
appoint,
appoint,
okay.
Greg.
I'm sorry.
All right, I thought we were considering.
No, my apologies. My apologies to, you're making a motion to appoint
To
Greg
appoint Greg.
Horn.
And he's gonna take whose place, or we need?
Well, unfortunately, Richard Smith has indicated he is
Okay,
no
so this will
longer-
be the next term. He will come on at the
June
end.
30th.
At the next
I
July
called
meeting.
Richard, I made it a point to call as many as I could to see if
Okay.
they want to. And he wanted to express his gratitude for being able to serve the town. I serve with Richard on the commission, and he's very thorough
Yeah, does a good job.
and very thoughtful on everything for the best of the town and the citizens, and how zoning affects business and residents side by side. And that's an important thing. So, Richard, thank you.
That needs to be corrected. They still have Jenkins do it, they used to.
Okay. I'll fix that. So there's a motion and a second. Mike, you seconded it, right? To appoint Greg Horn to the planning commission. Becca, would you do a roll call vote for that, please?
Yes.
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 Okay, and then, John, Kristen pointed out, it's just, we've had lots of changes because Jeff is now going to be on the he is on the rec commission. And on this list you gave us, it has Jeff as council member to the planning commissions. We need to switch that and put
Kristen on this.
Kristen Thompson with, okay?
Do we need to renew Barry Alley's term or not?
I could not get hold of Barry.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
I mean, I don't want to say yes or no because
Okay.
I couldn't.
I didn't know.
We were told he was willing to serve another term.
He does?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's say we need to reappoint him. Is there a motion to reappoint Barry Alley for another term?
I'll make that motion.
Mike makes the motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Who seconded it?
Seth.
A double second, Seth. And any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Becca.
Yes.
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 It's unanimous. We have one continuing member, Barry. We thank you for your service. And we have one new member, Greg. And John, will you, I can give you the phone number for him. He can get all the credentials he needs, the statement of economic interest and the things that he will need to properly serve.
We'll get it taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I think we have, hold on. John, don't we have vacancies on the IDA?
Yeah, we had 2 vacancies on IDA. When we had their meeting the other week, they recommended Joseph Vance for one of those openings, and they asked that if council didn't have somebody else for the other position, that they would give it some thought and hopefully come back with another recommendation.
Joseph Vance. Okay, any consideration for Joseph Vance? to
I'll
make
make
an
that motion.
appointment?
I'll second the motion.
All right, the motion is made by Darrell and seconded by Mike to appoint Joseph Vance to the IDA. Is that an unexpired term?
There's two, 6:30, 22.
They all expired.
So he's beginning 6:30. Okay, so make sure. All right, thank you, and we can congratulate him, and you'll take care of getting the paperwork for
Need to
him,
vote.
John.
Need to vote for it, man.
He's,
Need to vote.
oh, I'm so sorry. Let's vote on it. Becca?
Yes.
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 Thank you, Mike. It's easy to get caught up in all these things and forget
We got you.
the important vote.
We got you.
Okay, so the other member is still undecided, and they might come up with someone, or if someone on council decides, consult someone in the town who wants to serve. That's the real deal. It's just serving. I'm preaching to the choir. If you're up here to get rich, it's a long way to go. Thank you.
That's a fact.
Thank you. Okay, John, property and liability insurance renewal.
Mayor, you got one more. You got the zoning board of appeals, which has
Oh,
to
I'm
be,
so sorry, I didn't see that on
that
there.
has to be approved by the circuit court as well.
So he's
Board
willing to
member
serve.
update and new appointments. Am I looking at it wrong?
Reappointment.
Green wants to serve again, yellow didn't want to serve.
I'll make a motion that we,
Who doesn't want to serve?
He does.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint.
Oh,
Larry.
I'm so sorry. Larry, okay. Go ahead.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
To appoint Larry Whiting. Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
All good.
To appoint Larry Whiting to up his service on the zoning board of appeals. Is there a second for Larry?
I will second that.
And Jeff seconds that. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please back up for Larry.
Yes.
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 Before we move on, I will note that Richard Smith served on the planning commission for 16 years, so it was definitely, a lot of service, and we appreciate his time.
Very much. I do have a question. I probably missed this, and I'm very sorry. But to go back and double check, for the IDA, which one of these people is Joseph Vance replacing?
He'll just fill one of the two
It doesn't
terms.
really
There's
matter.
2 openings, so he's just gonna fill one of them.
Okay, but
And then we're
we
trying to
don't
look
know
for another
Which one
one.
is going to retire?
Well, they're
They're
both
both-
expired.
Yes, I've seen
And they're
that,
both not
but-
interested.
Yeah, they're both expired, so we don't have anybody after June 30th.
But neither one of these people want to continue?
No, that's why they're in
Neither Cody
yellow.
nor Adrian?
They're getting
That's why they're
replaced.
yellow, they declined to offer the serve another
That's,
time.
okay, I appreciate that, Jeff, because I was wanting to make sure who's replacing, but it won't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
Thank you, yeah, declined. Okay, thank you very much for the clarity.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now, we ready? Okay, John, property and liability insurance renewal. Heather?
Basically, this is just our, property insurance renewal. If you flip to the main bag, it's actually, I think, the same as last year, and there was nothing changed and no real increase. The only thing that was different this year is, it says section 3, and we have to decide, she said, whether we would like to include this or we don't include this. And it says, yes, we would like to add the Versa new workers' compensation plus coverage, which was quoted, or no, we would not like this, the plus coverage. We've always had workers' comp coverage, so I'm not sure what the premium means, but the overall total was this, I think it was a little bit less, I think, than last year, so even with that included in it. So it basically just, and they actually came and did the appraisals, like somebody came this year and looked at all the buildings.
Okay.
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Seth makes the motion
I'll
to
second.
approve. There's a second by Mike. Any discussion? There
Do
being
we-
no discussion.
Do we have to make a decision on section 3, yes or no?
Well, I mean, it's included in the total. It was like, it says included, so, and even with that included, I don't know why it's separate or if that's something new that they're doing this year. But she said we had to actually mark yes or no, but it is included in the total price.
Thoughts, Kristen?
And the total price, you said, was a little bit less than it
Yes,
was before?
yes.
So there's a motion.
But we added a 2,000.
No, I think it was included always. It's just separate this year. They listed that separate.
You can decline it if you want.
Right, you can decline it if you want it. It's just not included in
You
the
definitely
overall pricing.
don't want to decline that.
I don't think we want to
Not
try.
that, I was just, I thought it sounded like it was a plus.
Well,
It
that's
was
what it does
different.
say.
It was
It
something
says
different
plus.
than
Yeah,
what
I mean,
we've
it doesn't
had. If you
sound
read
like
the
it is.
Well,
paragraph
they're
from below.
calling it workers' compensation plus.
So it's
That's
a
what
new-
they're called.
it's
No,
what-
we always had workers' comp.
Right before that, it says new, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Plus is new. The
better.
word plus is new.
Oh, okay.
Are you
But
okay
it's
with it,
included
Jeff?
in the total, and the total is still
Maybe we need to read
overall
it.
a little bit cheaper than it was last year.
Yes, we would like to add VRSA's new workman's compensation plus coverage.
But we've always had it. I think the new part is where we
Y'all
can
kill
like
me,
go
man.
online and submit our claims and things like that. I don't think there's anything,
Functionality's new.
yeah.
So we need to
like-
scratch new from it.
Right, it's always been there. It's
We're gonna
just
mark that
plus
So we're gonna scratch through new, right?
and put
We're gonna mark
plus.
that block.
Jeff, go
We're gonna
back to
put plus.
JMU and take those courses.
I did take them.
I know you did.
And this is why I'm asking.
I know you did.
Because the
I'm
word says
teasing you,
new,
Jeff.
works, and then it defines it down here in this paragraph. I'll just read it.
Yes.
You wanna read it?
No, I read it. I'm teasing you, my friend.
We've read everything else tonight. Might as well read it tonight.
I don't mind to read it. And I want to share that, I think it's very important I read that. Okay? And I really think it is important. No matter what everybody else thinks, I did what I think is the right thing.
Just
I
says
am the
new.
man.
What was
All
the-
right, so.
No, this is-
Oh, I know, I know.
Motion
Ask
second
her
on
what
the floor,
old one
Mr. Mayor.
was.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Heather, what was the old one?
Don't even ask.
I don't know, it was cheaper than this. I can't remember exactly the exact totals of that.
Okay. Okay, John, we're moving on. Year-end reporting contract agreement.
This is a RFP we put out. Essentially, it was something we're able to do in-house. Now, we don't have the staff that is capable of doing the year-end reporting. I reached out to our auditor and put it on EVA to try to get some bids on this additional work. It's basically helps us get the year-end reports ready for the auditor so we can get that process started. So as soon as we get bids in, hopefully we'll be able to move forward with, one of those organizations. If there are no questions on that, I have several things for miscellaneous. I do want to update you, we had some issues with the landfill, the transfer station in Cedar Bluff. I think that we finally resolved those. So when they are down, we have to drive all the way to Tazewell, so it's a lot of extra wear and tear on our vehicles and time that we're not able to be in town picking up. So hopefully that issue has been resolved for the long haul. The library, we met with them. We have some issues we're working through with how to get those funds we set aside for their building renovations, as well as their grant, fundraising that they have for that building downtown. So we're working on that. So I wanted to let you know that that's still something we're working on.
What funds did we set aside? I thought, was that ARPA money?
Yeah, it was ARPA. We earmarked like $150,000.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah.
John, were you able to clarify, I was talking with John Willis, that the money, it's a drawdown?
I think so. But when we met more, we talked, the more questions we had. So we're going to make sure
See, they don't have any money to start anything with.
And I think they were fine with the drawdown, but then we had to figure out, their nonprofit status versus us giving it, and like figuring out how all that would work to make sure there's no legal issues. So we're going to meet with our legal counsel and their legal counsel and try to work through those so we can get to a point where we all are on the same page and know how that process will take place.
Right, and I appreciate that.
I've heard back from the TACS. They had a conference this week, so they weren't going to be able to present. So I've asked them to hopefully be able to present at our next council meeting, and that's the tax collection organization that council asked me to reach out to. Then we have the bridge on is it 2nd Street? Yeah, 2nd Street Bridge. They plan on starting work on that June 20th. This is a little bit pushed off from when they originally planned. So I wanted to give you all an update. So if you see something going on there, that's what it is. Then dispatch, we have a meeting scheduled for this week. I know Jeff just let me know that he had something come up. He's not going to be able to make it. So I wanted to ask you.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Are you still going to be available for that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at 2:00 in
Bluefield Town Hall.
Yep. And then, so as brought up earlier, but the letter to the Attorney General has been sent off. They've had some follow-up with our legal, and we're continuing to work on that so they can hopefully get us an answer back as soon as possible. But it has been sent, and it's essentially in their hands now to respond. Do you have anything you need to add to that?
They just requested some more information from me, which I'm in the process of getting together for them, and I'll send that on to them.
Ramp Up has just recently released their flyer for Summerfest. If you don't have those dates down, it's June 24th and June 25th. We're excited for that event to be coming up soon, so if you're around, please attend and share that because it's a great free event for the community. They did send a request that I wanted the council to approve. This year, the fireworks came in at $1,500 more than what was originally budgeted. What was originally, what it cost last year. So they've requested the town to help sponsor that expense. We have about $7,800 in the downtown or community events budget that's under council now, the one we requested to go back to community or economic development. So I just wanted consensus from council to move forward with.
But that money is still under council's purview?
Yeah, it is.
And they need how much more?
$1,500.
For what? I'm sorry.
The fireworks.
Fireworks were $1,500 more than last year.
Yeah, and I think the county's already, Shannon Placer's already made a contribution, so $1,500 is a small amount.
What they need. Okay, is there you want that in a motion?
Sure.
Is there a motion to award, are we giving it to Ramp Up? Or are we going through somebody? Because they're not an official organization
they're still working on their
are they?
No, they're separate.
We need to do that some other way, John, because we're going to get called on the carpet for that.
So last year, we had to run the finances for that event through the town. I don't know if they have their 501c3 status yet, so we're not sure how they're going to run their finances of the event yet, but it would be a reimbursement, or the money would come through the town and we would pay the bill.
Why don't we just write it directly to the fireworks company? Is that appropriate?
You can't reimburse them if they're not a 501c3.
But the way we did last year is they managed the event and the bill came to the town and all their revenue came in the town. We just helped manage it because they didn't have the nonprofit status. So essentially they were, assisting the town and doing the facilitation, but we managed the finances. So we haven't had that discussion of how exactly that'll take place this year.
How would you suggest that we do it?
So just allocate it, and then when we figure it out, either we'll, have the invoice come to us and they'll give us their portion and we'll pay,
Okay.
or, if
So
they
they
get
can
their,
give the bill to the town, and the town will pay the fireworks company?
yeah, that's how we did it last year.
I just wanted to be sure because.
Did Shannon give her money
I
to
wanna
the
make
town?
sure.
I believe so, because I think when she gave it, so then they're close to getting their 501c3 status, but I don't think they had it when because we got her check 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
I appreciate your clarity on that, because any questions, and we don't need to get in any deep water. Thank
So
you.
you just want us to allocate it?
Yeah, just
Then
get,
we'll figure out the red tape.
because the money's already there for this type of thing. I just want council to be aware of it and be fine with us spending it for that purpose.
Was there a motion to pay $1,500 toward the fireworks for the community event?
I will make that motion.
Kristen makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please. Kristen made the motion. He seconded it.
Yes.
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 The last-
Motion passes unanimously.
The last thing I had, I just want to pass these pictures around. It's 168 Mountain Road. It's a code enforcement issue that we've received several complaints over, and code enforcement has done basically all they can at this point to get voluntary compliance. So I wanted you council to kind of take a look at it and see if this is something you want legal to start helping us with, maybe possible enforcement. We are working on probably a list of about our top 5 worst properties that we haven't been able to make any progress on. But since we don't have really any funds budgeted, we wanted to kind of see what our options are, and then if council, if this is something you want to move forward with, we'll have to look at it, at our next meeting. But I wanted to just kind of get a consensus or fill out the room on this property and what your thoughts were.
What are your thoughts, John?
I mean, it's tough because we don't have a code enforcement budget. So,
What we did at the county, sometimes we did set aside a budget of $10,000 or $15,000.
Yeah.
And then what you do is once it gets to that point and they deny compliance, you put it out for bid, you get it cleaned up, and then you file a lien against their property for the amount of the cleanup.
yeah, and that's what we discussed, but when we went through this budget process, I think before you came on, it was decided to kind of, that wasn't a top priority right now.
Right.
But one of the neighbors to this property has called several times, so we've done everything I can at the staff level. So I wanted to at least bring it to you all, make you all aware that this is one of probably a handful of properties that we have that
Who owns it?
I don't know. I think they owe like $33 in back taxes, so not enough to.
Are they accessible? Have you been able to reach them, or?
I don't handle that. Our code enforcement officer handles it, but I don't know if he's been able to get up with him or if it's one of those where you can't get up with somebody. But said he's been working on it for a while. I can get more details.
I have a suggestion, John. It needs to go, or it needs to be fixed, but until we have the information, how hard we've tried, what efforts we've taken, I don't know if the council is in a position to condemn it. Okay?
That's
Are you guys in accordance with what I'm suggesting? Thank you, John.
I just want to make you all aware of that.
We appreciate it.
So is he going to contact the owners and?
The code enforcement
They've
officer is
already
going to
tried
have to.
reaching out. I just don't know if they've.
Well, can you find out who owns it and whatever, what we need to be doing? Okay, and you can help with that too. All right, what else, John?
That's it.
Okay. Council member reports. Darrell, these are non-voting items.
I just, want to encourage John and them to watch and be sure we don't mess up any funding for the water and sewer. And be sure to give the council a heads up and plenty enough ahead of time in case something needs to change with that. That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Darrell. Doug?
What's happening to the Gomez house? Is the county taking it over, or?
I don't know anything since the last time we talked about it at council.
Can someone find out? Okay. He'll give you.
Yeah. The last thing I heard, the county we had stepped aside so they could. But if you can check on that.
Okay. Doug?
That's all.
Thank you, Doug. Mike?
Nothing from me tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Kristen?
Not really anything right now.
Thank you, Kristen. Seth?
The electrical update, John and I, by email, talked to a lady from AEP, and she does have everything that she needs, so she'll be back in touch with us hopefully soon. They're doing some of their initial analysis now. And then the second thing, I had a citizen down in Lake Park, Mr. Arnold, reached out to me and sent me pictures of bears that were destroying their garbage cans, and I think it's been kind of a continual issue. Have you guys looked at that, or is there anything we can do?
I want to say that they talked about putting bear bars on some of those trash cans, but as soon as you put it on it, like, if we can't get voluntary compliance and get people to use them, it kind of defeats the purpose. I think that's the issue they've run into, but I'll follow up with it and see.
If you could do that, and then he said there's some drainage issues down there too. Have you been down there to look at that?
It's been a few months, but I can check it out.
Just let me know what's going on or what we can or can't do, and that way I can explain it to him.
I think a lot of it is so steep. A lot of the water tends to run over the road, and there's really we're limited on how much you can stop it. But I'll take.
Yeah, if you just kind of give me a synopsis so I know what to tell him.
I checked on that. That's been going on for 3 years. Where the flooding is, he's saying that it was graded wrong in the ditch, and it was pointed toward the road, and it's throwing all the water on the road and then into the houses. But that's been going on for years.
Gotcha.
And probably, if you check on the ditch line, you could probably improve that if they would go up and do something with the ditch line.
I'll look at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can look at that. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Seth. Jeff?
Rec Commission meets Monday, where we were off schedule a little bit coming in, so we won't have a meeting until Monday night. The rec park, so we'll
Monday
report
at,
next.
7 at the rec park.
And they're doing that mermaid event. You want to talk about that?
What is it?
It's like
Swim with the mermaid.
Swim with the mermaid.
Oh.
And they said the first block is almost sold out. So if anybody
Is
has
this
kids,
a Pixar thing with?
I think they have somebody, a mermaid is gonna go take pictures. And,
How cool.
At the pool. So
John dressing up? Or Heather?
fun, different event.
I think that's fun.
That's pretty cool.
So we're excited.
Does everyone have their Speedos ready?
It's gonna be Sebastian.
Okay, next. Anything else, Jeff?
No, sir.
Okay, mayor's comments. I'll make mine really brief. The first thing is, I've been going through old papers, been cleaning up my house, and we talk about things here that we've talked about for years. I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is a 1969 paper, the Richlands News Press. Floodwaters had dropped a foot from the highest levels of the Doran Bridge at 9 a.m. Wednesday. We're still working on Mother Nature, and we're trying. The next thing, I just want people to understand, if they're new to Richlands, and this was just so interesting. I'm not going to read all this because we've read enough. I agree, Jeff. But decade of development prepares area for the 70s. 3 major influences it talks about is Appalachian Regional Commission, the ARP, increased state financing, the resurgence of the coal industry, other factors, Appalachian Spurs area. This is the one that caught my interest. The arterial highway system changed Richlands. No need to go into that, but it really did. So when you see the pictures, and the video that you see circulating on Facebook was created by the Main Street Committee, and the section house is in charge of that. And those were compilations of lots of videos that were collected from old Richlands. And I don't think Richlands will ever be that again, but I think Richlands will develop in a new way, because that is what you do. You find a new way to make this place go. But it's still fun to look at it. The last thing I want to mention to you, Flag Day. Yes?
If you ever want to see it, I have a subscription to the paper in 1897.
I would
Richlands
love it.
had a paper.
I would love it. Thank you. This is Flag Day, and for those who don't know, Morgan, stick around. This is Flag Day, and Flag Day was established on June the 14th, 1777, when we had the introduction of an American flag officially adopted by the U.S. Congress. So I want to thank the town for putting up all these flags and making it very patriotic and pretty, and that's why we're doing it, to recognize the symbolic freedom of the American flag. And the last thing, I hope everybody got this in their packet. The section house, we dedicated the house in October of 2018, and then COVID came, and we know it changed everything. And so we didn't have the patio at the time, but we have the heritage patio. And people purchased bricks there in honor of and in memory of people. And so we are finally ready to dedicate the heritage patio. It's an informal event, but it's going to be very nice. I want to thank the hospital for supplying us with fantastic food. So food is always a draw. There are no long drawn-out speeches. I hope that everyone will be able to come to it because it's an honored thing in the town, and it is an asset. And we'll have a lot of people there. I just told Jeff, it's maybe the Hyatt family might get here. The Hyatt's built its house, and I've invited them personally. We don't know that, but I'm hoping so. And lots of other people. So if you want to meet a little bit of old Richlands and be new Richlands, it's the past and the future, and you don't get it any better. And again, for those people who talk about our council and Richlands, I don't appreciate it because this robust discussion is so important. It makes us vibrant and young. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourned.
We want